Chapter 595. However, you have to be careful. Those criminals from the holy prison have already taken root in the Jojo continent. I didn't expect them to call themselves gods in the Jojo continent. What a joke. I've already found out about the family resources they have accumulated in the divine land. Even if we destroy their entire family, they can reignite it again. After the sage laughed, he sighed slightly. Lin Shen looked serious and asked, "Senior, do you mean to eliminate them completely?" Yes, 100,000 years is just a snap of the fingers for a sage. At their level, their lifespan is very long. Even if we destroy their family, it will be useless. We must find those sages and kill them all. They are criminals from the holy prison and are seriously injured. If they don't have any fortuitous encounters, it will take countless years for them to fully recover. If the Jojo continent falls into their hands, they will use the energy of the Jojo continent to heal their broken bodies. The sage said solemnly. Lin Shen nodded. When he knew about the history of the 100 Sages War, he felt the motive of these fake god families from Hun Ma Bai. Their goal was to destroy or take away the inheritance of the world-suppressing sacred steel. The collapse of each world-suppressing sacred steel would bring those fake gods closer to the Jojo continent. If the world-suppressing sacred steel didn't collapse, they wouldn't dare to step into the Jojo continent with their seriously injured bodies. Therefore, they arranged people in the Jojo continent and chose women from the Jojo continent to cultivate the fake god families. The world-suppressing sacred steel locked their auras, but it couldn't lock their descendants. When the fake god families destroyed or took away all the inheritance of the world-suppressing sacred steel, it would be the day they attacked the Jojo continent. At that time, a naked invasion and occupation would become an incomparably glorious miracle in the history of the Jojo continent. Because of this, countless people would worship them as true gods and descend upon the Jojo continent. Haha, but now everything is unknown. If the heavens don't destroy the Jojo continent, there is still a glimmer of hope. Your talent and wisdom are far stronger than any of the talents I've seen in the history of the Jojo continent, even in the ancient times. The illusory figure smiled. Lin Shen cupped his fists. May I know Senior's name? Blade Saint Li Changsheng. Li Changsheng pointed at the Saint Steel. Place your palm on the Saint Steel. This strand of my consciousness can't preserve much of my inheritance. I hope it can help you. Lin Shen took a deep breath. He stood in front of the world-suppressing Saint Steel and touched it with his palm. Buzz! Spiritual ripples spread out like ripples, and illusory figures entered Lin Shen's spiritual bridge one after another. The high-grade purple rank battle skill, Bright Moon's Mirror, is best used with water-type battle chi. It was an ultimate saber technique that combined defense, attack, and speed. The saber technique is divided into 3 moves and 10 moves. Mirror, Bright Moon. Each move is placed in a different domain and has a different profoundness. The minimum requirement to use it is the cultivation of the 4th level of the War Emperor realm or above. The final move of the Bright Moon Mirror, 3 moves combined into 1. Mirror Moon Imperial God. Its power is more than 10 times that of the first 3 moves and 9 moves. This Bright Moon Mirror actually only had 3 styles, but each style had a high level of mastery. Mirror, Bright, Moon, these 3 styles were used separately. Defense, attack, and speed, these 3 styles were used in different ways. If it was used for speed, it would be the ultimate attack speed. If it was used for defense, it would be the ultimate defense. If it was used for attack, it would be an all-out attack. A huge amount of inherited memories poured into his mind, and the system automatically consumed 230,000 mid-level cultivation technique soul essences to speed up the inheritance. The inheritance time was exactly 2 days and 2 nights. If Lin Shen had not advanced to the Heaven Ascension realm, the time it would take to inherit this high-grade purple rank battle skill would have been at least 5 times longer. Other than the saber technique inheritance, Lin Shen also obtained countless saber techniques and experience. It was not an exaggeration to describe the saber techniques and experience of a saber saint as a priceless treasure. It was not that a sage realm expert who used the saber was a saber saint, and a war emperor who used the sword could be called a sword emperor. There were many war emperors who used the sword, but there were very few sword emperors. To obtain this kind of title, one had to focus on the entire domain and find their own ultimate sword path. So fast. It's only been 2 days, and the inheritance is over? Li Changsheng was stunned on the spot. He relied on this bright moon mirror to gallop across the 9 provinces, and there were few opponents in the sage realm who could match him. Even if he had the inheritance memories that were formed from the fusion of the essence of skills, there was no reason for him to be so fast. It would take at least 2 months, right? Maybe I've chosen a monstrous and heaven-defying inheritor this time. Seeing Lin Chen open his eyes in front of the sage tablet, Li Changsheng's mouth twitched slightly. Lin Chen, brat, you really completed the inheritance? Li Changsheng asked in disbelief. Yes, I don't have many good points, but I'm fast when I need to be fast, durable when I need to be, soft when I need to be soft, and hard when I need to be hard. Lin Chen smiled confidently, and Li Changsheng clicked his tongue in wonder. Your cultivation is still some distance away from being able to use this saber technique. Unless you're in a life-or-death situation, don't force yourself to use it. If it's light, it will break your meridians, and if it's heavy, it will hurt you before you can use your battle aura. Li Changsheng warned seriously, and Lin Chen nodded. This bright moon mirror saber technique required one to be at least level 4. With Lin Chen's water calamity battle body, he might be able to use 1 or 2 moves at the late stage of level 3. Then, Li Changsheng waved his hand, and a dragon's roar sounded. It was as sharp as a sonic explosion, and the sound of air tearing was heard. This was a completely blue saber, and the hilt was as bright as the moon. It was 1.5 meters long, and it looked as if the saber was carved out of blue jade. Its sharpness pierced through heaven and earth, and there was an unprecedented pressure. However, its spiritual aura seemed to be incomplete. Lin Chen couldn't open his eyes because of this sharpness, until Li Changsheng reached out and wiped away the spiritual imprint on the saber. Its illusory figure became even more transparent. He waved his hand lightly, and the ink-colored saber case flew out from the sage tablet, and the saber was sealed in the case. Brat, give me a drop of essence blood. Lin Chen waved his finger lightly, and a drop of Battle Emperor's essence blood floated in front of Li Changsheng. Merge! Lin Chen's essence blood turned into a stream of light and merged into the saber case. Li Changsheng's illusory figure finally became almost translucent. Take it. This is my saber when I was alive, Azure Bright Moon. It is a level 8 saber, but because of the last battle when I was alive, half of its spiritual aura was damaged. If you have the ability to repair it, it will return to a complete level 8 weapon. However, even if its spiritual aura is damaged, its power is still not comparable to a level 7 weapon. I used your essence blood to bind it together. You can only use it 5 times at most. Li Changsheng pushed the saber case in front of Lin Chen, and his pupils shrank. He could clearly feel that there seemed to be a living being in this saber case, and it had some kind of connection with him. So magical. It's like I have formed a connection with a living being. Is this a level 8 divine artifact? The moment he took the saber case, Lin Chen was amazed. Chapter 596. Remember, don't use it unless you have no other choice. You'll be injured by the blade, aura. After 5 times, if you still don't have the strength to subdue it, it will leave you. Li Changsheng's expression was extremely serious. Lin Chen nodded. This could be considered his first weapon that surpassed the 7th grade. Hee. The heavens have not forsaken the 9 prefectures. I have nothing left to pass on to you. The price we paid for the final battle was too high. Li Changsheng looked relieved as he placed his hands behind his back. Lin Chen looked at him with admiration and cupped his fists. Senior Li Changsheng and the ancestors of the past fought to defend the 9 prefectures. There must be a meaning behind it. The living will inherit the will of the dead. I will let this meaning continue. I am relieved to hear this. All right, Senior, I have another request. Li Changsheng, can I take the remains of the War Emperors with me? Lin Chen's request baffled Li Changsheng. The remains of the War Emperors were valuable, but it was only useful for Yuan venerates. For someone of Lin Chen's level and potential, it was not worth it. They were all my subordinates who died to defend the 9 prefectures. If their remains can be of help to you, then there is no problem. Li Changxing smiled. Lin Chun was grateful. Thank you, Senior. Lin Chun leaped towards the remains of the War Emperors outside the boundary, suppressing sacred steel. Li Changsheng followed him curiously. He saw Lin Chen's palm pressing against the remains of a War Emperor. With a thought, he issued an order. System, activate the decomposition function. Outside the boundary, suppressing sacred steel, 47. Long Kun was lying between 2 mountains. Suddenly, Long Kun opened his eyes. Baleful aura surged, and the green light was extinguished. It seems like some powerhouses have returned to the area near the Hun family. Oh no, I don't know if this kid can make it in time. Long Kun concealed his aura and hid in the mountains. He knew very well how long it would take to receive the inheritance of a sage. Although Lin Chun had told it that the speed at which it received the inheritance was extremely fast, how fast could it be? 2 5th-level combat emperors seemed to be coming this way. Long Kun's heart suddenly tightened and his nerves tensed up. If it was a battle, he would definitely not be afraid of these 2 people. However, he could not kill them instantly. Once a large-scale battle broke out, it might alert the remaining experts of the Hun family. When the time came, a spatial jade slip would send a message, and a large number of experts would swarm over. Inside the world, suppressing Saint Steel 47. Congratulations to the host for advancing to the mid-2nd level of the War Emperor realm. Li Changsheng was stunned. Out of the 400-plus battle emperor corpses, more than 100 had already disappeared without a trace. When Lin Chen's palm came into contact with the War Emperor's remains, it instantly vanished into thin air. That's right, he had completely disappeared. Every time the Battle Emperor's remains disappeared, Lin Chen's aura would grow stronger. However, even someone as strong as Li Changsheng, who was a Saint Realm expert with an unimaginable amount of experience, couldn't see through the method Lin Chun used to make the Battle Emperor's remains disappear. He didn't circulate his battle chi, nor did he use any secret techniques. He just casually stretched out his hand, and the remains disappeared. His aura grew stronger. This kind of cultivation method was unheard of. Rumble. When the 350th Battle Emperor's remains disappeared, Lin Chun had completely stepped into the late 2nd level of the War Emperor. In the end, the 400-plus Battle Emperor's remains had completely disappeared. Lin Chen's aura was several times stronger than before. This is too magical. My premonition is very strong. With you in the 9 prefectures, there'll be hope. Li Changsheng sighed in amazement. He was already a dead man, and his last strand of consciousness was about to dissipate. He had no interest in knowing how Lin Chun was able to do such a magical thing. He only knew that this young inheritor had many secrets that even he couldn't see through. That was enough for him. Most of the Battle Emperor's remains belonged to 5th-level combat emperors and above. Lin Chun activated the decomposition function and consumed a total of 310,000 heavenly Dao points to decompose all the remains. The amount of attribute points he obtained was not an exaggeration to say that it was a sea of attribute points. Among the remains, there were 7th level, 8th level, and even 9th level combat emperors. The amount of attribute points he obtained after decomposition was extremely high. Just the battle chi essence alone was as high as 88 million points, making Lin Chun not far from the boundary of 3rd level combat emperor. The rune energy was as high as 9 million points, the talent points were 16 million, and the remaining heavenly Dao points were 71 million. The elemental attribute points had all exceeded 40,000 points. The water attribute points had directly reached 110,000 points. With these attributes, the power of Lin Chen's 9 tribulations star would be unimaginable. Lin Chen turned around. At this moment, Li Changsheng was about to become transparent. Junior Lin Chen respectfully sends off sword Saint Li Changsheng. Kneeling on one knee, Lin Chen cupped his fists solemnly. Towards these sages of the human race who once used their flesh and blood to defend the 9 prefectures continent, he had always held the highest admiration and respect in his heart. If my subordinates knew that their remains could be turned into the power of the younger generation, I think they would be able to truly rest in peace. Before Li Changsheng completely turned transparent, he laughed heartily. But, little guy, you don't seem to be from the 9 prefectures. Before he could finish his last sentence, Li Changsheng's remaining consciousness disappeared. The sword saint of a generation had truly disappeared from the world. He had bet his last bit of foundation on the last firefly of the 9 prefectures. Lin Chen did not pay much attention to the last sentence. Perhaps it was because Senior Li Changsheng felt that the function displayed by his system was too mysterious, so he had such thoughts. The light of the world suppressing sacred steel number 47 dimmed a little. In a few months, the world suppressing sacred steel would completely lose its power. However, its mission had been completed. A new light had quietly risen from the 9 prefectures continent. Crack! The jade in Long Yu's arm shattered. Lin Chen's expression changed slightly. This was Long Kuin's dragon breath jade. Its shattering meant that there was an enemy attack. It was discovered so quickly. What's going on? With a solemn expression, Lin Chen jumped into the spatial whirlpool of the world-suppressing sacred steel and disappeared. In the outside world, at the center of the 2 half-moon mountain valleys. Roar! Roar! The dragon's roar shook the heavens and the earth. Long Kuin ignited his bloodline and spread his purple phoenix wings. As his dragon body danced, he continuously shot out green light dragon blades. He opened his dragon mouth and spat out a dragon breath that turned into a tornado and swallowed the 3 5th-level combat emperors. The 3 of them were forced to retreat. His fist was like a dragon. As the energy surged, the battle chi turned into a golden fist and violently hit Long Kuin's body, causing his huge dragon body to retreat 100 miles. There were few cracks on the dragon scales. It was a 6th-level combat Emperor Realm Elder of the Han family. Even Long Kuin, who had activated his bloodline power, was not his opponent. Strange, more than half of the 7th-level vicious beasts in this mountain range have been wiped out. Where did this big guy come from? When the 6th-level combat Emperor Elder of the Han family shifted his gaze to the mountain gorge, his expression suddenly changed. Something's not right. The stone platform in the lake has disappeared. Someone has entered the world suppressing sacred steel. The gray-robed elder turned pale with fright. He crushed the spatial jade slip. Oh no, they have called for reinforcements. In the end, we were discovered. Should we fight or stay? Long Kuin's expression was solemn. With the speed of the spatial jade slip, even if all the experts of the Han family were to come out, the 7th-level combat emperors and above would not need too much time to rush back. Rip! A tearing sound was heard. More than 10 figures descended outside the mountain gorge. Long Kuin's expression changed drastically. 4 5th-level combat emperors and 8 4th-level combat emperors, and 2 6th-level combat emperors. Suddenly, almost at the same time, when the combat emperors of the Han family appeared, the spatial light within the 2 half-moon mountain gorge shone brightly. A figure that was as straight as a spear stepped out from the center of the mountain gorge. A young man in a silver robe with a spear on his back stepped out. He had a domineering look on his face as he held the 5-color dragon spear in his hand and pointed it at the combat emperors in the void. The lackeys of the false god should all die. Chapter 597. Lin Chenbrat, has your inheritance ended? Long Kuin was overjoyed when he felt the extraordinary pressure coming from Lin Chen's body. He flew to Lin Chen's side. It's you. You have angered the gods and destroyed the ceremony. How dare you not leave? How dare you covet the inheritance of the Hun family? All the combat emperors of the Hun family were shocked. Just how audacious was he? A mere second-level combat emperor not only dared to challenge the true god, he even dared to enter the Hun family's territory and sneak into the world-suppressing sacred monument. The inheritance of the Hun family's saint? King bullshit. This is the world-suppressing sacred monument of the ancestors who used their flesh and blood to defend the 9 prefectures. Trash like you have no right to humiliate the heroes of the 9 prefectures. Lin Chun was furious and scolded loudly. The elders of the Hun family were so angry that their faces turned ashen, just as they were about to wave their hands and capture Lin Chun. Rumble. The aura of the sun and moon bloomed from Lin Chen's body. The terrifying heavenly tribulation battle chi turned into a hurricane and swept across the entire mountain range. Azura 9 Brilliance Transformation, First Transformation, Second Transformation, Third Transformation, Seventh Transformation, Water Calamity Transformation. Bang! The battle chi from the explosion was like raging waves. Lin Chen's aura broke through from the late stage of the 2nd level to the early stage of the 3rd level. When the final Water Calamity battle body was completely detonated, Lin Chen temporarily advanced to the early stage of the 4th level combat emperor. This was the first time Lin Chen used the 7-layer transformation. Even if it was a huge burden on his body, he had to use this trump card. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Divine light fell, and clones descended from the sky. The 4 avatars flowed with the azure blue light of the final moment and ultimate convergence. They each took a side and stood proudly beside Lin Chun. The phantom doppelganger of the early 3rd layer was comparable to an early 5th layer combat emperor. As for the early 4th layer combat emperor, with the addition of his elemental attribute and pure strength, the combat strength of the 4 great doppelganger was comparable to that of a 6th-layer combat emperor. Lin Chen's avatar instantly descended. Many of the Hun family's experts had solemn expressions. They had already experienced the strength of this child's avatar, not to mention that he was now several levels stronger than before. Host has activated Sovereign's Descent. 100,000 talent points have been consumed. Accumulating energy, 0 points. Lin Chen's killing intent soared to the heavens, and he even activated his Sovereign's Descent talent. Long Kuan, kill them, Lin Chun coldly shouted, and the 5 people and 1 dragon fiercely attacked. We have to stop them, even if we have to die. Elder Hun Zong will be able to make it in time. The 2 elders of the Hun family, who were at the late stage of the 6th rank, shouted. A great battle was about to break out. 8 Desolate Finger, 79 Style, Moon-Splitting Galaxy, Dark Thunder Sky, Piercing Arrow. Lin Chun swung his spear downwards. The tip of the spear sliced through the air, and the moonlight filled the sky. The doppelganger pointed out an 8-colored energy finger. The dark arrow light was enough to break the sky, aiming directly at the 2 strongest late 6th level combat emperors. Long Kuan was fighting against 8 4th level combat emperors alone. His speed and defense allowed him to have the absolute advantage, even though he was fighting against 8 4th level combat emperors alone. Lin Chen's 2 doppelganger rushed into the midst of the 7 5th level combat emperors. 3 of the 5th level combat emperors were injured by Long Kuan previously. The 2 doppelganger saber skills were overbearing, and the sword light was swift and fierce. They had truly begun their massacre. Because of the 2 doppelganger, one of them was the doppelganger that used the Elysian Moon Heavenly Saber. He had inherited the experience of the Saber Saint Li Chongqing's saber skills. The saber skills of Lin Chen's doppelganger were even better than his spear skills. Other than the fact that he didn't have the speed of the Purple Phoenix wings, the strength of this doppelganger was the closest to his real body. The battle between the combat emperors caused the mountain range to collapse. Countless mountains were swept by the shock waves and turned into dust. The earth vein continued to crack. It's not that easy to kill the people of the Hun family. The gray-robed elder, who was at the middle stage of the sixth rank, sneered in his heart. Just as he was about to launch a sneak attack on Lin Chen's real body, a dragon's roar split the sky. Chi! A sky-blue afterimage flashed past without any warning. It carried with it a pure force that could split the galaxy in a sharp dragon's breath. It went straight for the gray-robed elder's head. The gray-robed elder's hair stood on end as he was caught off guard. The space where the sword light appeared didn't have any aura at all. It was as if it had appeared out of thin air. He raised both of his hands, and his fists turned into dragon claws. 10 claw marks violently clawed at the sky-blue sword light. Bang! A sky-splitting explosion resounded through the sky. The sky-blue sword light was incomparably ferocious as it chopped off an arm. At the place where the arm was chopped off, more than 10 attribute light balls fell down. With his right arm chopped off, the gray-robed elder was pushed back for more than 10 miles before he could stabilize himself. His expression was one of pain and shock. F***CK. Since when did my brother become so strong? That's not right. It doesn't seem like it only has the bloodline of the profound azure dragon and the purple phoenix. Long Kuan, who was at the side, was dumbfounded. He even temporarily stopped the battle. 4 wings flapped, one purple and one blue. His entire body was flowing with green light, making him look extremely handsome. That dragon tail that swayed from time to time was like a heavenly sword, imposing and majestic. It was Lin Chen's Dragon Emperor. With its current strength, even a late 6th level combat emperor wouldn't be able to see through its azure dragon vanishing shadow. Purple phoenix wings, azure dragon body, winged dragon tail? What kind of dragon is this? The gray-robed elder sucked in a breath of cold air. A mere 7th level dragon race could actually rely on a sneak attack to cut off one of his arms? Heavenly Imperial Ocean. The Dragon Emperor roared angrily towards the sky. All the lakes, rivers, and oceans within half of the mountain range rushed up and filled the sky with water. Even the water element spirit energy in the air seemed to have received a call. All of it turned into a tide of spirit energy, forming a vortex that gathered above the Dragon Emperor's head. A natural water element dragon scale armor covered the entire body of the Dragon Emperor. His winged dragon wings became 7 times bigger. Heavenly Imperial Ocean, the super ability of the winged dragon bloodline. It could control the water element energy of heaven and earth in battle. The current Dragon Emperor could even fight a 6th level combat emperor. Even if he couldn't win, he wouldn't lose. The Dragon Emperor, who had received the support of the water element energy, had a heaven-shaking aura. He swung his dragon tail and raised it up, causing it to shine with a blue divine light. On the dragon tail, the sharp aura of the water element dragon breath gathered together caused every battle emperor present to be shocked. Azure Dragon Sword, 10,000-year mysterious light blade. The dragon tail swung furiously, exploding vertically. The dragon claw slashed horizontally. The light blade danced wildly. The 2 ultimate abilities caused the gray-robed elder, who was retreating, to be aghast. On the other side, an even more frightening scene unfolded before the Hun family. Bright mirror, mirror of attack. The Nethermun Heavenly Saber swept horizontally. The saber technique was graceful like a mirror of water. The saber light turned into snowflakes and slashed towards the 2 5th-level combat emperors. Golden Meteor Splitting Demon Kick. Clear Cloud Hand. When the 2 5th-level combat emperors attacked with all their might, the saber light that was as transparent as a snowflake mirror flashed a ray of light. Their attacks were actually reflected to the other side. It was as if a ray of sunlight shone on a mirror and was reflected to the other side in an instant. The attack didn't hit the target at all. This was the first time the two had seen such a strange situation in their lives. They didn't even have the chance to react. Chi, the saber light that was as beautiful as a mirror of water, slashed horizontally, slashing at the waist. The two combat emperors' bodies, along with their defensive artifacts, were cut in half. They didn't even have the chance to self-destruct, killing two combat emperors in one slash. Furthermore, they were 5th-level combat emperors. Chapter 598. The attribute light balls scattered and a screen popped up. Killed a mid-stage, 5th-level combat emperor. Accumulated energy, 39,400 points. The death of two combat emperors shocked all the combat emperors. Even though Lin Shun had used his secret technique, he had only temporarily stepped into the early stage of the 4th level. How could he kill two mid-stage, 5th-level combat emperors in an instant? Only those who were at least at the late stage of the 6th level could have such combat strength. In reality, Lin Shun was the only one who knew that such an outcome was perfectly normal, because this was the Blade Saint's famous skill, Mirror Moon, a high-grade purple rank combat skill. In the entire Jiuzhou continent, there were only a handful of combat skills that could surpass this combat skill. Not to mention, Lin Shun had used the ultimate moment and two offensive talismans, coupled with his pure strength and the strongest water calamity combat body. That kind of power didn't even give the opponent a chance to self-destruct. Rumble. 3 majestic light pillars crossed the sky and turned into a ray of light that shot towards the phantom doppelganger. It was the furious attack of the other 3 injured 5th-level combat emperors. Mirror Moon, mirror of protection. The blade danced wildly. Rays of transparent blue blade shadows covered the doppelganger like a mirror. When the 3 rays of light touched the mirror, it was as if a ray of light shot out from the mirror. Not only did the ray of light not break the mirror, it was reflected back at the 3 combat emperors with an even fiercer momentum. It changed from soft to hard in a breath's time. What? When the 3 of them were shocked, they didn't have time to retreat and were blasted by the ray of light. That ray of light was accompanied by an all-pervasive water calamity combat chi. When it rushed into their bodies, all of their internal organs were shattered. Chi, bang, rip. Their flesh was torn apart and they vomited blood. In the midst of the shock, the 3 of them died with their eyes wide open. The 3 5th-level combat emperors had perished. Were they killed by the reflected combat skills? What kind of combat skill is this? The 2 late-stage, 6th-stage elders who were being held back by Lin Chen's main body and the 2 doppelgangers looked at each other in shock. This combat skill was so profound that even in their Hun family, there was no skill that could be compared to it. The saber is like water. The saber transforms into a moon. The saber is like a mirror. Is this the famous ultimate skill of the saber saint, Li Changsheng, the bright moon mirror? This kid actually inherited the sword saint's most powerful skill in such a short time. The 2 of them sucked in a breath of cold air. They became increasingly aware of just how heaven-defying Lin Chen's potential was. It was enough to threaten the foundation of the Han family. Boom! The sword light was as dazzling as a rainbow as it pierced through the heart of an early 5th-layer combat emperor. Lin Chen's other clone was unwilling to be left behind and killed a 5th-layer combat emperor. At this moment, the Han family had lost 6 5th-level combat emperors. The remaining 2 were shocked and frightened. They didn't know whether to fight or retreat. Consuming 18300 talent points to activate Ultimate Restoration, Lin Chen's doppelganger returned to its peak condition. The consumption of Bright Moon Mirror was extremely high, and with Lin Chen's current foundation, he could at most use it twice before his battle chi ran out. Damn it, I'll fight you to the death. Go to hell. The 2 5th-level combat emperors rushed towards Lin Shun without fear of death. Their bodies were burning, and their battle chi was releasing waves that could destroy heaven and earth. Lin Shun squinted his eyes. They actually wanted to self-destruct? For the true God in their hearts, they were willing to sacrifice their lives, even if they were at the 5th-level combat emperor. Bright Moon Mirror, Quick Moon. Swoosh. The moonlight flashed and disappeared. The heaven and earth seemed to be illuminated by the moonlight for a moment, but it also seemed to disappear in an instant. The two Hun family's elders who wanted to self-destruct died with their eyes wide open. Attribute light balls scattered all over the sky. Dead. The two fifth-level combat emperors didn't even have the time to self-destruct before they were killed by the clone. His understanding and control of the bright moon mirror has reached such a level. The two Hun family's elders were trembling. They finally knew what ultimate attack speed was. Lin Shen's two clones and his original body were fighting the two sixth-level late combat emperors. It was as if they were fighting with their lives on the line. After exchanging more than 100 moves, the two of them were enraged. They brought out their trump cards one after another. Lin Shen's main body was beaten back and injured. His two clones each died once before they were reborn by activating the illusory runes. The three sixth-level combat emperors were delayed by Lin Shen and Qing Long Kuan, and the two clones joined hands and killed 8 fourth-level combat emperors in an instant. The attribute light balls were scattered all over the sky and were all collected by the clones. Obtained 175 points of fire element energy, 8,955 points of heavenly Tao, 11,000 points of talent points, 9,550 points of rune energy, 28,999 points of battle chi essence, 18,000 points of chi essence, 89 points of spirit. Host has opened 13 purple crystal treasure chests. Obtained 100,000 points of talent points, 100,000 heavenly Tao points, 50,000 rune energy, 15 rune stones, 1 talent combo frame. As the host has sufficient rune stones, the system has automatically upgraded the level 5 penetration rune, consuming 20 rune stones. Level 5 penetration rune, able to penetrate 25% of the host's attack, is suitable for all areas of the host's attack. The combat emperors fell, excluding the 3 strongest 6th-level combat emperors. The remaining 15 combat emperors were all at the middle 4th level. All of them were top-notch experts, but none of them could last more than 15 minutes against Lin Shen and Long Kuan. Just as Lin Shen's 3rd and 4th doppelgangers were about to fall, a crescent-shaped saber light flashed past. The green-robed combat emperor's hair stood on end. It was the ultimate attack speed of the bright moon mirror. Rumble. The 8-colored energy finger and the dark thunder sky piercing arrow worked together seamlessly. Before the speed of the moon mirror could be unleashed, it exploded and blasted towards the green-robed combat emperor. Being attacked from 3 sides, the green-robed combat emperor raised both of his hands and pushed forward. His battle chi surged like a raging flood dragon and condensed into 4 gigantic crimson serpent gates. Bang! Dark light surged, and the 8-colored chaotic energy surged in the sky. A blade flashed past the crimson serpent gates and slashed at the green-robed combat emperor's right shoulder. The blade was as fast as the moon. The green-robed combat emperor didn't even have time to react. He subconsciously activated the defensive armor. Chi! Crack! The blade cut through the green-robed combat emperor's intermediate 7th-level low-tier soft armor. The green-robed combat emperor used his Heart's Sutra to resist the remaining power. Suddenly, blood spurted out from his right shoulder. The green-robed combat emperor's pupils contracted when he saw the smooth cut of his right shoulder. Didn't he barely manage to resist the attack? Why was the attack still so powerful? The strangest thing was that the smooth cut of the combat emperor's bone had lost all its light. There was no sign of life on it. When one reached the level of 6th-level combat emperor, even if one's arm was broken, as long as one's arm was intact and reattached before its vitality was completely drained, there was a high chance that the arm could be reattached with the help of high-grade pills and battle chi. However, this attack had completely cut off this possibility. The broken wound and the vitality of the arm had disappeared as if it had been sucked dry. Level 5 Rune of Penetration is indeed powerful. As Lin Shen was praising the rune in his heart, a strong surge of vitality entered his limbs and bones. The system screen popped up. Fatal Bloodthirst has been successfully activated. 4,800 talent points have been consumed. 28% of the damage dealt has been healed. Chapter 599. This was the first time Lin Shun used the fatal bloodthirst innate skill. Lin Shun used the lifesteal healing ability to deal substantial damage to the enemy. The effect was extremely strong and immediate. Lin Shin's remaining injuries from fighting a late-stage, 6-stage battle emperor were instantly healed by half. Lin Shin's main body quickly retreated and continued to let his doppelgangers use the ultimate moment and ultimate return to origin. After getting rid of the 15 battle emperors, Lin Shin's attributes increased crazily. At this moment, the 4 doppelgangers worked together to fight against the 2 late-stage, 6-stage battle emperors. With the addition of the Blade Emperor's doppelganger, the battle became extremely intense. Long Kuan went to assist the Azure Dragon. With 2 dragons fighting against 1 emperor, it was only a matter of time before the 6-stage battle emperor with a broken arm was defeated. System, I want to register a combination innate skill. Register the ultimate moment and sovereign's descent. Lin Shin issued an order. In the treasure chest that was dropped earlier, he opened the second innate skill combo frame. This meant that he could experience the new function of the system. Innate skill combo frame. Registration failed. The ultimate moment is not suitable for the combo frame. Host, please choose another innate skill. Lin Shin frowned and probed. Then, what about the fatal bloodthirst innate skill? Yes. Then let's just use the fatal bloodthirst plus super-dimensional teleportation. Lin Shin narrowed his eyes. What he needed the most now wasn't combat power, but the ability to escape. If he could trigger the combo frame, he could use the super-dimensional teleportation twice. Innate skill combo frame successfully registered. Fatal bloodthirst, super-dimensional teleportation. Trigger condition. When the fatal bloodthirst innate skill is successfully activated, there is a 30% chance of triggering the combo frame. You can unconditionally activate the super-dimensional teleportation once. You can choose to teleport back to the marked location or teleport to the target of the fatal bloodthirst innate skill. Lin Shun was shocked. This was a little different from what he had imagined. Why could he only teleport himself after triggering the combo frame? Didn't that mean he couldn't bring Long Kuan away? The fatal bloodthirst innate skill can only be activated after injuring the enemy. If I can't even break the enemy's defense, then I don't meet the conditions to activate the combo frame. Lin Shin narrowed his eyes. It seemed like he could only end the battle quickly, even if he allowed the clone to stall for time. As long as the 6th level combat emperor wasn't killed, he would definitely be able to hold back Lin Shun and Long Kuan. Once the 7th level combat emperor arrived, it would be a fatal crisis. Let's get rid of this mid-stage, 6th stage first. Lin Shin's eyes revealed an ominous glint. He continued to heal his injuries with the wood spirit essence art. With a flap of his purple phoenix wings, he transformed into a beam of light and shot out. The Dragon Emperor cooperated with Lin Shun. Seeing that he was about to launch a surprise attack, he released the Black Azure Dragon's domain and used his dragon power to delay and interfere with the other party's movements. A wisp of azure blue sword light suddenly slashed out horizontally, and it forced the gray-robed old man to go all out. His hand turned into a walking stick with a ghost head, and he shook the air. The skulls made of black fog that were tens of thousands of feet long crashed into the Azure Dragon sword, making cracking noises. Rip! Long Kuan displayed astonishing speed, and with a swipe of his claw, 5 dragon marks shot out like a sharp blade. TSK. Bang! The moment the 2 dragons worked together to shatter the black fog skull, blood flowed from the corner of the gray-robed old man's mouth, and he retreated hundreds of steps in the air. Hun-in, be careful! A cold voice transmission sounded. When the gray-robed old man realized that something was wrong, his spear slashed through the sky and swept down vertically. The moonlight turned into a beam of light that fell straight down. Style 79, Moon-Shattering Star River. Hun-in, who had no time to prepare a defensive technique, activated his battle aura and counterattacked with his palm, forcefully resisting the spear. Boom! The palm print exploded, and the moonlight flashed chaotically. Lin Chen was unstoppable. With the style 76, 1,000 souls break. One spear turned into 1,000 spears, and spear shadows rained down like a storm. A large number of heavenly tribulation battle aura spear shadows swept over, and he could not retreat. When he used his battle aura to resist, some of the spear shadows pierced through Han Yin's body, causing blood to splatter everywhere. Fatal Bloodthirst has been successfully activated. Talent points consumed. Fatal Bloodthirst has been successfully activated. Fatal Bloodthirst have been successfully activated many times. Lin Chen's injuries had almost recovered, but Han Yin's injuries had been accumulating nonstop. Sensing that Lin Chen's injuries were recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye, Han Yin's pupils shrank slightly. This was an extremely terrifying thing. Imagine, the moment your opponent injured you in a battle, your vitality would be drained and turned into his recovery energy. The more the opponent fought, the stronger he became, but the more you fought, the more disadvantageous it would be for you. Successfully triggered a combination innate skill. Host can use combination superdimensional teleportation at any time. After successfully activating the Fatal Bloodthirst many times, Lin Chen finally triggered a combination innate skill. This kid is already heaven-defying. Together with the two dragons beside him, I'm no longer his match. Since that's the case, I'll sacrifice myself for the true God. The gray-robed old man suddenly unleashed an extremely fast speed, and his battle aura exploded violently. Another high-level combat emperor who was about to self-destruct, he suddenly unleashed his battle aura, and it was as if tens of thousands of devil hands had reached out from hell. In the end, they turned into countless battle aura chains and shot out. He wanted to seal Lin Chen's movements and ensure that his self-destruction could completely affect Lin Chen. Swoosh! The battle aura chains hit nothing, and the gray-robed old man was stunned. What kind of secret skill was this? Disappearing without a sign? Chi! Puff! The sound of flesh tearing and body piercing rang out. Lin Chen appeared behind the gray-robed old man like a ghost. The Five Dragons' Imperial Spear had already pierced through his body, and he died on the spot. He didn't even have the chance to self-destruct, and he died with his eyes wide open. Before he died, the gray-robed old man still couldn't figure out what was going on. Although Lin Chen's speed was fast, he still couldn't disappear without a sign in front of a 6th-level combat emperor. Even when he used his movement skill, the 4th-level combat emperor could detect the fluctuation of his battle aura. It was just that he couldn't avoid his attack. Host used combination superdimensional teleportation successfully. Target killed, 6th-level combat emperor. Accumulated energy, 180,000 points. I didn't expect that the combination skill triggered by this Fatal Bloodthirst could be used in a battle through superdimensional teleportation. It has truly realized the concept of teleportation. Lin Chen was excited. If it was a normal battle, he would have to cooperate with Long Kun and Qing Longmeng for more than 100 rounds before he could take down the gray-robed old man. There is also a possibility that he would have to pay a certain price for the opponent's counterattack before he died. However, by using the super-dimensional teleportation to mark the opponent's body to achieve teleportation, the effect was 10 times stronger than a sneak attack. It was truly like a ghost appearing and disappearing unpredictably, and it was an instant kill. This innate combination skill, just the combination of two innate skills, was already so powerful. What about 3 or 4 innate skills in the future? Lin Chen didn't dare to imagine. However, although the innate combination skill was strong, the prerequisite to trigger teleportation was that Lin Chen had to be able to break through the opponent's defense. If it was a 9th-level combat emperor, then he wouldn't be able to use this innate combination skill. After taking away the attribute light ball and the purple crystal treasure chest that rolled down from the gray-robed old man, Long Kun rushed over. "It's time now, let's run. Let your clone cover us." Long Kun revealed an anxious expression for the first time. However, Lin Chen waved his hand and said with a smile, "No, Brother Kun, You take my clone and leave first." After saying that, a phantom clone withdrew from the battle. The Saber Emperor clone fought the green-robed combat emperor alone. A look of excitement flashed across Lin Chen's eyes. He wanted to kill these two late 6th level combat emperors. He wanted to annihilate the entire Han family. Chapter 600. Seeing Lin Chen's confident look and the fact that his brother didn't show any intention of leaving, Long Kuan didn't hesitate. He only said, "Be careful," and retreated with his clone. The speed of the clone and Long Kuan was quite terrifying. In 2 breaths' time, they reached the other side of the mountain range. "That brat, an azure dragon, ran away." "No, it seems like it's just a clone. The original body has the purple phoenix wings and didn't leave." When the two of them glanced at each other from the corner of their eyes, Lin Chen smiled. A late 6th level combat emperor was not an ordinary person. With Lin Chen's strength, he couldn't rely on his clone to fight a battle of attrition to kill 2 people at the same time. He had to have a strong enough attack. Even if Lin Chen used the 9 Tribulation Star, it was still unknown. If it was just one of them, he might be able to kill them. However, if 2 late 6th level combat emperors join hands, an early 7th level combat emperor wouldn't be able to kill them in one move. However, at this moment, Lin Chen had a technique that could surpass the 7th level combat emperor. Purple rank innate skill, Sovereign's Descent. The Sovereign's Descent had accumulated 180,000 points of energy. Compared to the last time when he used it in Dan Province, it had accumulated less than 30,000 points of energy. This time, it was 6 times more. Even an early 7th level combat emperor would die in the next move. Lin Chen's eyes revealed an incomparably strong confidence and dominance. The host has activated the Sovereign's Descent. 182,000 points of energy will increase the host's next attack. At this moment, the Saber Emperor clone used his movement skill to dodge the opponent's attack. At the same time, he threw the Elysian Moon Heavenly Saber towards Lin Chen's original body. Clang! Lin Chen's original body held the saber and let out a saber cry that turned into a dragon's roar. The Battle Chi Fate wheel in his body rotated. The surging 9th Tribulation's Battle Chi was converted into Water Tribulation's Battle Chi and infused into the saber. The azure light illuminated the entire sky. The moment the original body held the saber, the clone's attack suddenly changed, and he retreated. Each of them used a level 5 slowing rune that contained 120,000 points of energy. 2 grayish-white talismans exploded in midair, and their battle chi and space became sluggish and solid. Even with 240,000 points of rune energy, the level 5 delaying rune could only seal 2 late 6th level combat emperors for less than a breath's time. However, this was already enough. Bright Mirror Moon, Speed Moon. Lin Chen held his saber and slashed horizontally. The entire body of the heavenly raising saber was revolving with a blue glow. The saber slashed horizontally. An array of blue moonlight was instantly extinguished. This saber was like a sovereign descending upon the world. This slash, from the prosperity of civilization to the fall, had happened in the time it took to unsheath the blade and the moon to set. It was as if the world was illuminated by the moonlight for an instant. But no one could see this scene, because the moonlight was extremely fast. TSK. Fine cracks appeared on the spatial crystal wall. They seemed inconspicuous, but they created a vacuum zone that was extremely deep and fast. The eyes of the 2 late-stage LV6 elders of the Han family gradually dimmed. Their battle chi and fate wheels were shattered into pieces. As their heads were separated from their bodies, they turned into dust and vanished into thin air. Nothing was left of them. Finally, a large number of attribute light balls appeared and floated in the void. The power of this saber had increased by 235 times. When Lin Chen used the sovereign descending upon the world for the first time, the power of his attack had increased by 1,000 times. However, Lin Shun was only at the 6th level of the Yuan Venerate realm at that time. The 1,000 times increase in power of a Yuan Venerate realm and the 235 times increase in power of a 4th level combat emperor were two completely different concepts and levels. There was a world of difference. The power of the sovereign descending upon the world was dependent on the host's cultivation. If the accumulated energy from the first activation was used on Lin Shun, who was at the combat emperor realm, it could only increase the power by 30 to 40 times at most. With the 235 times increase in power and the ultimate moment, it would be 244 times. Moreover, there was a 25% penetration characteristic. Not to mention the late-stage 6th level combat emperors. Even two early-stage and mid-stage 7th level combat emperors would die. As for the late-stage 7th level combat emperors and 8th level combat emperors, it was unknown. The higher the cultivation of the combat emperor realm, the more terrifying it was. Lin Shun hurriedly removed the 7-fold transformation. Layers of weakness appeared in his body, and his cultivation returned to the late-stage 2nd level combat emperor. Lin Shun immediately swallowed a 7th level medicinal pill, the Void Transforming Dragon Pill, that he had refined in advance. As he quickly removed the weakened state, he issued an order. System, I want to strengthen the life growth innate skill to the highest level. Consumed 350,000 talent points. Blue rank innate skill. Life growth innate skill has been strengthened to 200%. It has reached the highest level. The weakened state brought about by the Azura 7-fold transformation was extremely serious. It had reached a level where the wood spirit essence technique could not be used to recover. He could only rely on medicinal pills and the self-healing ability of the innate skill. As he circulated his cultivation method to refine the medicinal power of the medicinal pill, the system screen popped up. Congratulations to the host for instantly killing two late-stage 6th level combat emperors. A special reward system has been triggered. You have received 1 orange crystal treasure chest. Boom! An orange light pillar immediately bloomed in the direction of the two fallen elders. It was an attribute light ball that only Lin Shun could see. It's here. The 4th orange crystal treasure chest. In the past, it was extremely difficult to obtain an orange crystal treasure chest. However, Lin Shen's experience could only be described as heaven-defying. With his 2nd level combat emperor cultivation, he dared to fight his way to the far east region of the Divine Land and face the top experts of the fake god families. Lin Shun had escaped death every time. The higher the opponent's level, the higher the chance of getting top-tier attributes and treasure chests. The chances of triggering a special reward system would also increase. Lin Shun couldn't suppress his ecstasy. His clone grabbed the treasure chest for him. Was it the God Slayer innate skill? Or was it the absolute life and death innate skill fragment? No matter which one it was a sure win. Orange crystal treasure chest has been opened. The host has received a quasi-orange rank innate skill fragment. Absolute life and death 3/3. It has been automatically integrated and placed in the innate skill column. The strongest one-on-one talent obtained. Lin Shun had another trump card. Absolute life and death innate skill plus the God Slayer innate skill. If I summon a group of experts, it will no longer be a delusion to overturn the war in the spiritual state. Lin Shun was excited and his blood was boiling. While his clone was collecting the attribute light balls, his purple golden eyes could see that the top experts of the Hun family had begun to return to the Hun family's territory. There were no less than 3 7th level combat emperors. Received 15,000 heavenly Tao points, 290 lightning energy points, 360 metal energy points, 18,000 talent points, 350 wind attribute points, 14,000 rune energy points, 150 mental power points, 12,500 cultivation soul essences, 120 blank attributes. Open 9 purple crystal treasure chests. Received 150,000 talent points, 100,000 rune energy, 250,000 heavenly Tao points, 1,000 blank attributes, countless attribute light balls were absorbed into his body. Lin Chen's cultivation was getting closer and closer to the third-level combat emperor. After collecting all the attribute light balls, Lin Chen didn't run for his life immediately. First, he kept the 3 clones and the Dragon Emperor into his body. Then, he used the Azure Dragon Shadow to eliminate all traces of his presence. After that, he erased any traces that could be used to track him and rushed into the depths of the mountain range. In the end, he chose an ancient lake in the mountain range. It was more than 20,000 feet deep and plunged into it. Chapter 601. Lin Chen sank to the bottom of the lake and continued to maintain the Azure Dragon Mirage, like a rock at the bottom of the lake. Furthermore, there was an abundant amount of water energy in the lake. Lin Chen could use the Heavenly Imperial Ocean Divine ability to control the water to form streams of water to cover his existence, becoming his perfect cover. It was as if Lin Chen had completely disappeared from this world. As for Lin Chen, who seemed to have transformed into a reef at the bottom of the lake, he focused on recovering from his injuries and the weakened state of his body. Furthermore, his consciousness had infiltrated into the first illusion clone that had retreated with Long Kuan. Retreating with the illusion wasn't a coincidence. It was Lin Chen's deliberate plan. 15 minutes after Lin Chen dived into the lake, the sky above the world-suppressing Saint Steel 47 cracked open and 3 powerful figures appeared. They were 3 7th-level combat emperors. They looked around and squinted their eyes. Their killing intent was awe-inspiring. Dead. All of them are dead. Other than the experts guarding the true god altar of the Hun family, all the combat emperors that were sent here have died. I didn't expect this kid to be able to finish the battle in such a short time. They couldn't even stall for time. Just like what the information said, he has the strength to kill a 6th-level combat emperor. No matter how strong he is, we have to chase after him. His aura disappeared into thin air at the battle site. Let's split up and act separately. Once we discover him, stall for time and inform each other. The various elders are also on their way. If they encounter an 8th-level Grand Elder, he will definitely die. The 3 7th-level combat emperors broke through the void and escaped into the space crack, each chasing after a different direction. Time passed. It had been 3 days and 3 nights since Lin Chen took away the inheritance of the world-suppressing Saint Steel. On the 3rd day, the top experts of the Hun family returned to their headquarters and quickly spread out to every region of the Divine Continent, conducting a thorough search. Lin Chen's importance to the Hun family had reached a level where they would not rest until he was dead. Since ancient times, no one dared to provoke the divine power, not to mention the Hun family, which was the strongest among all the fake god families. Scolding the true god, breaking the divine mountain, and provoking the divine might. These actions were things that ordinary people did not even dare to think about. Yet, he had done them time and time again. Regardless of whether it was his temperament, potential, or fighting strength, he would be the Hun family's #1 enemy. Therefore, other than a few Hun family patriarchs who were out on missions, basically all the top powerhouses had been mobilized. There was only one goal, and that was to kill Lin Chen. Firmament Tower, in a secret room somewhere in the main city. The champion of the Pinnacle Pill Assembly, breaking the divine mountain, scolding the false god, and still being able to escape unscathed. This kid is probably the last hope of the 9 prefectures. The black-robed figure sat on a chair and flipped through the information in his hands, clicking his tongue in wonder. Pagoda Master, should we help this kid? This kid isn't inferior to the prodigies of the sacred boundary. The graceful figure beside him bowed slightly and asked for guidance. Firmament Pagoda Master. Such a person was even more terrifying than the alchemy giants of Danzhou and the ancient fortune-tellers of Mingzhou. He was known as the most mysterious existence in the 9 prefectures. The number of people in the 9 prefectures who could meet him could be counted with one's fingers. No, now is not the time for us to intervene. Firmament Pagoda has been standing here since ancient times. It is the last symbol of civilization in the 9 prefectures. As long as Firmament Pagoda doesn't fall, the 9 prefectures won't be destroyed. No matter how monstrous a genius is, he is not worthy of us betting on Firmament Pagoda. However, it is still possible to provide some information and help. The Pagoda Master suddenly smiled and put down the jade slip in his hand. Pass down the message. Tell the inheritors of the world suppressing sacred steel that we know of. I think they will get along well with him. After all, he is the only one in the 9 prefectures who dared to provoke the false god since ancient times. Yes, Ing-Er understands. The beautiful figure nodded her head. Then, the Pagoda Master's tone suddenly became serious. I asked you to investigate the origin of that person. Did you find any information? When that person was mentioned, the graceful figure's body trembled. Her voice trembled with fear. No, the people we sent out are all dead. Lung Shao of the 9th-level Combat Emperor is also dead. The Pagoda Master tapped the table with his fingertips. Yes, and he was killed in an instant. No information was sent back. The secret room was silent. The two of them did not talk. Only the Pagoda Master's tapping on the table became faster and faster. Lin Shun, oh Lin Shun, you have really provoked an extremely terrifying person for the 9 prefectures. I don't know if he's a friend or a foe. Indeed, misfortune and fortune come hand in hand. The heavens have given the 9 prefectures a peerless genius that could overturn the ancient times. At the same time, they have also brought a person who could threaten the 9 prefectures. Pass down the message. Stop investigating that person to avoid a fatal disaster. Yes. The beautiful figure nodded her head. She took out a spatial jade slip and passed it to the Pagoda Master. Pagoda Master, this jade slip is a message from the Sacred Boundaries sect. A messenger from the Sacred Boundary is about to descend upon the 9 prefectures. The Pagoda Master's eyes turned cold. Is the Sacred Boundary going to save the 9 prefectures? Or is it because of that mysterious person? When the Pagoda Master tore open the jade slip, the spiritual information inside gushed out. After a while, he flicked his sleeves and sneered. A messenger from the Sacred Boundary. I didn't expect that they would come for Lin Chun, but they don't care about the life and death situation of the 9 prefectures. This bullshit messenger has nothing to do with my Heaven's Pagoda. The Pagoda Master smirked as he crushed the jade slip. During these 3 days, Lin Chun didn't stay idle. Under the lake, Lin Chun opened the system interface. Heavenly Path Possession System version 5.0 host. Lin Chun Cultivation. Late 2nd level battle Emperor Realm. Intermediate battle Chi Essence 62. 33 million points. Limit 3. 1 million Dragon Power. Intermediate Blood Chi 59. 12 million points. Intermediate Spiritual Power 31,450 points. Initial Stage Ascension Realm. Intermediate Cultivation Technique Soul Essence 1. 68 million points. Intermediate Rune Energy 3. 12 million points. Heavenly Path Points 3. 46 million points. Talent Points 3. 35 million points. Intermediate Elemental Energy 54,660 points for Fire Element, 49870 points for Earth Element, for 7558 points for Wood Element, 51225 points for Metal Element, 119358 points for Water Element, 53350 points for Lightning Element, 53280 points for Wind Element, 41,500 points for Light Element, 43030 points for Dark Element. Cultivation Technique Status Column, Open Bloodline Status Column, Open Passive Talent. Green Rank, Reinforced Iron Bones 100%, Blue Rank, Life Force 200%, Blue Rank, Divine Power 75%, Blue Rank Emperor Slayer. Active Talent, Blue Rank, God's Theft Omen, Blue Rank, Super Dimensional Transfer, Blue Rank, Fatal Bloodthirsty Fragment, 2/3, Purple Rank, Final Moment, Purple Rank, Ultimate Return, Purple Rank, Sovereign's Descent, Cooldown, 26 days, one-time orange rank, God Slayer, 1/3 a fragment included, quasi-orange rank, absolute life, and death. Special rune. Slow level 5, penetration level 5, charge level 5, phantom level 5. Blank attribute points. 3,940 points can be converted to any attribute points. Treasures points. Now that I have enough attribute points, I can try the fusion function again. Let's see if I can get a talent combo frame. Chapter 602. Lin Chun activated the fusion function excitedly. After tasting the sweetness of the combination skill previously, Lin Chun couldn't wait to get another 2 combo frames. System. I want to use 100,000 rune energy, 100,000 heavenly Dao points, and 100,000 talent points. Fusion. Boom. Ding. Fusion complete. Host has received Level 1 Battle Essence Rune. Rune energy can be consumed to quickly replenish host's battle essence. Cooldown, 30 days. Lin Chen's mouth twitched. What kind of lousy rune is this? Recovering battle essence has a cooldown? Compared to the ultimate return talent, it's countless levels lower. Decompose. Decompose battle essence rune. Received 80,000 middle grade rune energy. Lin Chun, again. This time, it's 200,000 rune energy, 200,000 heavenly Dao points, and 200,000 talent points. Boom. Ding. Consumed 50,000 heavenly Dao points. Fusion complete. Host receives green passive talent, dual cultivation. When interacting with a woman, host will receive battle essence feedback that can help increase cultivation. The degree of feedback depends on the cultivation of the woman. Lin Chen's mouth twitched. Damn, why is this combo frame so hard to come by? And what's this combo frame? Dual cultivation? Isn't this asking me to find all kinds of women to dual cultivate with? How preposterous. System, what do you mean by this? Are you looking down on me by giving me this talent? I, Lin Chun, am the most handsome man in history, have an excellent character, respect the elderly, and love the young. I'm a good youth who promotes traditional culture. Am I the kind of beast who finds all kinds of women to have sex with and uses them to cultivate? Why would I do such a perverted and insane thing? Who are you looking down on? Even if you look down on me, you have to look up to me. Thus, the angry Virgin Lin Chun accepted the dual cultivation talent with righteous indignation. If he accepted it, he would be a beast. If he didn't accept it, he would be worse than a beast. System. Then, Lin Chun continued with a serious expression. System again. Continue the fusion. Still the same 3 attributes, 200,000 points each. Boom. Ding. Consumed 50,000 heavenly Dao points. Assimilation complete. Host has received a passive green rank talent, Disintegrate. Another round of decomposition. Lin Chun gritted his teeth. F***CK. Adding additional attributes only resulted in a low-level talent. The randomness of this fusion function was too great. Moreover, if this continued, his attribute points would not be enough for him to fuse a few more times. This time, other than the 3 attributes from before, I'll add another 200,000 cultivation technique soul essences. Then, I'll fuse all the cultivation techniques I have. Consumed 90,000 heavenly Dao points. Assimilated 79 types of purple low-grade cultivation techniques, 3 types of purple mid-grade cultivation techniques, 4 types of purple mid-grade cultivation techniques, 400,000 mid-grade cultivation technique essences, 200,000 mid-grade rune energy points, 200,000 heavenly Dao points, and 200,000 talent points. Boom. Ding. Fusion complete. You have obtained an advanced low-grade purple rank battle skill, 3-inch calamity. It can mobilize battle chi and condense it into the power of inch calamity and hide it in the meridians. Once activated, the power of inch calamity can be revealed. This time, it actually allowed Lin Chun to fuse a brand new battle skill. Moreover, this battle skill was as high as advanced purple rank. Throughout the history of the 9 prefectures, there were still very few advanced purple rank defensive combat skills. Unless one was a heavenly genius who specialized in the field of cultivation techniques, One had to be at least at the Saint realm or above to create a combat skill of this level. There were perhaps no more than 20 advanced purple rank defensive battle skills in existence today. What a powerful battle skill. First, cultivate the power of Inch Calamity and then fuse it into the limbs, bones, and meridians. Once in danger, once activated, one can immediately defend against a fatal attack. This is equivalent to preparing the strongest defense in advance. After carefully reading the description of 3-inch Calamity, Lin Chun was shocked. Many experts died because they could not withstand the opponent's attack and did not have time to prepare their strongest defense. They could only temporarily activate their battle chi to defend and rely on their defensive artifacts to withstand the attack. 3-inch Calamity was a defensive technique that was condensed in advance and hidden in the body. Once in danger, one only needed to think to activate their strongest defense. Even if they were ambushed, they could instantly use their best defense to protect themselves. As expected of an advanced purple rank technique. Is indeed amazing. However, this is not my goal. Lin Chun first kept the technique manual and then activated the fusion function again. I'm still in danger now. Talent points and rune energy are necessary attributes to use life-saving trump cards. If the talent combo frame still doesn't appear in this last fusion, I can only give up. This time, Lin Chen's fusion attributes were still 200,000 middle-grade technique essence, 200,000 middle-grade rune energy, 200,000 heaven's path points, and 200,000 talent points. Boom. Ding. Fusion successful. Host has received. Lin Chun held his breath. This was the last chance. Host has received orange grade talent. God Slayer talent fragment, 2/3. F*CK. Lin Chun was so excited that he cursed. This was truly a case of unintentionally planting a willow and growing a shade. The long-awaited talent combo frame didn't appear, but a God Slayer talent fragment instead. This time, he fused a total of 5 times and used up a total of 900,000 rune energy, heaven's path points, and 400,000 technique essence. The first 3 attribute points instantly returned to more than 2 million points. Fusion was a gamble of burning attributes. Lin Shin didn't learn the 3-inch Calamity immediately because it wasn't a technique legacy. He had to learn it from the beginning. Ordinary experts would need at least 10 years to learn it. As for Lin Chun, even if he used the technique essence, he would need more than 6 days. Moreover, the technique essence Lin Chun had might not be enough. After transferring his consciousness to his clone, Lin Chun opened his eyes a moment later. Very good, this is the best result. Brother Long Kuan and his clone have successfully escaped and completely left the Han family's territory. They have already begun to escape to the border between the Barren State and the Divine Lands. During this period, he had been continuously using ultimate restoration to replenish his clone's battle aura so that it could maintain its best condition. The Barren State was at the far east of the Han family's territory. It was a vast and boundless continent where countless dire beast races gathered. The Barren State was the largest in the 9 prefectures. Its total area was close to 2 big prefectures. Countless dire beast races lived in the Barren State. As long as they escaped to the Barren State, they would basically be out of the Han family's control. The many powerful dire beast races would make it very difficult for the Han family to search for them. Long Kuan possessed the bloodline of the true flame, Purple Phoenix. His flying speed was extremely fast, and he maintained the state of activating his bloodline. After escaping for 3 days, the top experts of the Han family finally returned. At this time, it was already too late to pursue and search, even if the 8th level combat emperor were to attack. The most important thing was that Lin Shin's doppelganger could use the Golden Eye's twin life, which allowed him to detect danger and the location of the enemy's appearance. With this purple golden eyes, Lin Shin's doppelganger successfully covered Long Kuan's retreat. This was the result that Lin Chun wanted to see the most because he wanted to use his clone to perform the superdimensional teleportation. The superdimensional teleportation could only fix 2 spatial coordinates. After Lin Chun erased the spatial coordinates of the firmament tower, there was only one left. It was the abyss near the world-suppressing Saint Steel 47. Therefore, he needed new spatial coordinates. As long as his clone arrived at the location, he would be able to set the new coordinates. If Long Kun was caught by the experts of the Hun family, he could also let his clone immediately set the coordinates nearby and use the superdimensional teleportation to return to Long Kun's side and escape together. However, if that was the case, Lin Chun wouldn't be able to carry out his next plan. It would be best if Long Kun could escape successfully, because Lin Chun's next target was the headquarters of the Hun family. Brother Chun, I'm going to take down the headquarters of the Hun family and wipe them out. I'll kill as many of these bastards who were once dogs of the false god. Lin Chun's eyes revealed a ruthless attitude, as if he had nothing to lose and was not afraid of wearing shoes. He actually wanted to do the opposite. Everyone thought that he was running away. Who would have thought that he would dare to kill his way to the headquarters of the Hun family? Chapter 603. At this moment, the Hun family was like an empty city. All the strong warriors had left, leaving behind only the old, the young, and the disabled. When it came to these people, Lin Chun's respect for the old and love the young was something he was very good at. After recovering from his weak state and injuries, Lin Chun activated the Golden Eyes twin. After confirming that there were no strong warriors in the Hun family's headquarters, he jumped out of the lake. He continued to use the Azure Dragon Shadow and flew towards the Hun family's headquarters like a transparent gust of wind. The Hun family's headquarters was hidden in the Cloud Saint Valley. It was said that this place was built by the Cloud Saint in the history of the 9 prefectures. Later on, it was taken over by the false god. Lin Chun hid in the air and flew. When he got close to the Cloud Saint Valley, it was like entering an endless sea of clouds. When he released his battle chi and mental strength to investigate, it was like a clay ox entering the sea. There was no movement at all, as expected of the Hun family's headquarters. It's quite mysterious. Even mental strength can't penetrate it. It's really a good place. Lin Chun shook his head and laughed. The Cloud Saint Valley had a huge amount of spirit chi, forming a natural protective area. Most of the combat emperors couldn't even find the entrance without special means. It was the best choice to place the Hun family's headquarters here. With a swipe of his palm, Lin Chun activated the Golden Eyes twin. In the endless sea of clouds, 2 secret passageways appeared. Lin Chun continued to activate the Golden Eyes twin and saw the situation inside the secret passageways. One of the secret passageways led to the Hun family's main hall, and the other one led to the back of the Hun family's main hall. What was very mysterious was that the 2 secret passageways were swaying and moving all the time. Lin Chun could clearly see that in the many pavilions and secret halls, there were countless treasures hidden in them. This was the foundation of the Hun family since its establishment, destroying the Hun family's headquarters. If this was in the outside world, ordinary people wouldn't even dare to think about it. Even in the Hun family, only a few knew about the headquarters. Basically, only the combat Emperor Realm Elders and the false god's descendants knew about this place. Not to mention what kind of powerful existence existed in this mysterious headquarters. This time, I'm going to dig out all the Astor's King dirt. They won't even have a single strand of hair left. Lin Chun, who had activated the Eye of 9 Tribulations once again, confirmed that there were no other dangers in the Sea of Clouds. He maintained the state of Azure Dragon Vanishing Shadow and eliminated all the aura in his body. Like a transparent wisp of wind, he jumped onto the second bridge of the Sea of Clouds and sped forward, directly choosing the secret passage of the cloud bridge that led to the rear palace. It was likely that no one from the Hun family would have thought that the young war emperor who had destroyed the true god's blessing ceremony would not only not run away, he would also sneak into the Hun family's rear and snatch away the saint's inheritance on the world-suppressing sacred steel. What was even more terrifying was that he, who had snatched away the sage's inheritance, had yet to withdraw, and he wanted to infiltrate the headquarters of the Hun family alone. Lin Chen's actions weren't just crazy. If outsiders were to know of this, it would be as if he had lost his mind. A second-level war emperor directly attacking the Hun family's headquarters? Even storytellers wouldn't dare to boast like this. At the end of the cloud bridge of the secret passage, there were 3 mountain peaks lined up in a row. On each mountain peak, there were 2 pavilions lined up side by side. In the middle of the mountain peak, there was a large hall that was entangled by countless chains. And on top of the 3 mountain peaks, there were actually beautiful female sculptures. Moreover, their delicate bodies were completely naked and had no signs of life. These are the women that were fancied by the 9 prefectures. Damn it, how many people has this bullshit fake god harmed? Lin Chen's eyes were burning with monstrous anger. When he thought of how Ning Qingxian would become like this in the future, he raised his hand and fiercely punched out. His fist wind transformed into a dragon. Chi! Bang! Lin Chen crazily punched all the way and shattered all the female sculptures, not leaving a single one behind. After these women were tortured to death, they were left in the world in the most desperate state. Furthermore, their naked bodies were placed here like works of art. It was a complete trampling and insult to their lives. Who dares to barge into the secret chamber of the Hun family? With a cold shout, 3 late 5th-layer elders of the Hun family appeared from the secret chamber. Lin Chen released his doppelgangers and superimposed the 5-fold transformation at the final moment, temporarily advancing to the late 3rd layer of the Hun family. Dogs of the fake god, you all deserve to die. With the spear in his hand, Lin Chen's battle-intense sword. The purple phoenix wings on his back flapped, and Lin Chen turned into a ray of purple flame moonlight. What? The 3 elders were shocked. What kind of 3rd-layer combat emperor was this? His speed was terrifying to such an extent. Lin Chen and the 3 doppelgangers formed a circle in an instant. With the help of the Azure Dragon's profound Azure Dragon domain, the 3 late 5th-layer combat emperors were killed within 10 rounds. After removing the 5-fold transformation, Lin Chen kept the attribute light ball and went straight into the secret chamber without looking back. Between the pavilions, Lin Chen broke the door of the first secret chamber with a kick. Colorful rays of light came into view. This secret chamber was extremely wide. Various crystal cabinets were erected on the walls. Inside these crystal cabinets, there were countless rare ores and high-grade weapons. The lowest grade was the peak of the 6th grade. Most of them were battle chi and high-grade ores that were above the 7th grade. Collect. Lin Chen activated the spirit receiving ring. A silver light flashed, and he failed to collect the ring. Space ripples appeared on the solid space crystal wall. Lin Chen squinted his eyes and threw out a punch. Bang! Rumble! The ground shook and the secret chamber shook. The fist that broke through the veins of the earth hit the crystal cabinets, but there was no trace of it being broken. There's a space enchantment. It's at least a 7th or 8th layer combat emperor space enchantment. It's really hard. Without the Hun family's special method to open it, it'll be hard to break it with brute force. Lin Chen frowned. He didn't have the time to break all the space enchantments and take them away one by one. I think I can only break the space enchantment of 1 or 2 crystal cabinets if I use all my strength. There's still 3 more secret chambers. How long do I have to break them? Or should I just take the most precious ones and run away after snatching them? Just as Lin Chen was thinking about leaving and looking for the highest grade secret chamber to snatch the treasures, a thought exploded in his mind like thunder. F***CK. I'm too handsome. I'm so handsome that I've become stupid. Why didn't I think of this? With a flash, Lin Chen arrived at the first crystal cabinet. There was a quasi-7th grade weapon sealed inside. Lin Chen placed his palm on the space enchantment of the crystal cabinet. With a thought, he activated the disintegration function, consumed 170 heavenly Tao points to disintegrate the quasi-7th grade weapon Sky Billowing Clouds. Received 70 water attribute points, 300 talent points. It worked. The system's disintegration function could disregard the space enchantment and disintegrate the target as long as the target was in close proximity. Lin Chen's heart skipped a beat. Oh my god, this feels so good. Damn it. Lin Chen, was going to destroy the Hun family today. One step to the stomach. Not only was he going to split the sacred mountain and destroy the ceremony, he was going to turn the Hun family upside down and destroy the Hun family's main hall. He was going to destroy the Hun family until there was nothing left. Chapter 604. System, from now on, break everything down for me. Don't stop. Whatever my finger touches, even if it's an ant, I will break it down for a few attribute points. F*CK. I want to F*King, make the entire Hun family weak. Lin Chun clapped his hands furiously as he continued to loot. Every time his palm touched a crystal cabinet, the weapons and high-grade ores inside would be broken down into attribute light balls and absorbed into his body. His attribute points soared. The whole process was like a hurricane. He couldn't stop at all. Who cares if you have 10,000 years of foundation or 100,000 years of foundation? Today, all of them will become Lin Chen's attribute points. The system's decomposition function couldn't be used on intelligent creatures, and it couldn't be used on items that had an owner. However, the items placed in these secret pavilions were all treasures that the Hun family had plundered from various forces. They were used to reward and stimulate the development of the Hun family's forces. All of them were ownerless items. Lin Chun broke them down all the way without any hindrance. There were a total of 4 floors in this pavilion. Lin Chun broke them down all the way to the 4th floor. Above the 4th floor, there were weapons and weapons that were above mid-grade 7th level. There were even a small number of high-grade 7th level weapons. Other than that, there were even legendary top-grade 7th level ores that were hard to find even in 10,000 years. However, there were no weapons that were above the 7th level. Weapons of this level were rare in the 9 provinces. Even if the Hun family had them, they would be in the possession of the core members and the old ancestors. Moreover, the spatial enchantment here was even stronger. The spatial enchantment here was meticulously set up by 8th level combat emperors. Even Lin Chen couldn't break it in a short period of time. What was more terrifying was that Lin Chen activated his purple gold eyes and discovered that there were battle chi jade slips inside the crystal cabinets. They were made by 9th level combat emperors. If he forcefully broke it, it would trigger a battle chi explosion. The battle chi attack of a 9th level combat emperor might destroy more than half of the weapons and ores inside. At that time, even if he managed to steal them, they wouldn't be worth much. So ruthless. If it was stolen, he would rather destroy it than leave it to others. Unfortunately, the destruction of the spatial enchantment is the key to triggering the battle chi jade slips. I don't need to touch this spatial enchantment. He placed his palm on the surface of a crystal cabinet containing a 7th grade top-notch ore and activated the decomposition function. Consumed 35-40 Heaven's Path points to decompose the grade 7 or water fire 10,000 mysterious essence. Obtained 1,500 Heaven's Path points, 1,000 water type energy, 1,200 fire type energy, 1150 metal type energy, 39850 battle aura essence. Once the tier 7 peak ores were broken down, Lin Chun gained an extremely generous amount of attribute points. There were 3 intermediate elemental attribute points that soared to 1,000 points. This is too cool, ha ha ha. How satisfying. Decompose. Decompose. Break them all down for me. Even if he couldn't obtain these high-grade weapons, it didn't matter. Lin Chun broke them down and turned them into his own attribute points. When Lin Chun dismantled the last high-grade 7th rank weapon, the Selfless Sword, the system popped up a hologram. Congratulations to host for advancing to early 3rd level combat emperor. Apologize to Brother Sword Spirit. 3rd level combat emperor. From Li Chongqing's world-suppressing sacred monument, he had decomposed more than 400 combat emperor corpses experienced a series of battles with the Han family's emperors, and then decomposed the entire Han family's secret pavilion. Only then did he step into the third-level combat emperor. Rumble. Lin Chun smashed the wall with a punch and rushed to the second secret pavilion. The efficiency of one person's decomposition is too low. System, activate automatic decomposition for all clones. The moment he issued the order, the 3 clones guarding outside immediately rushed into the other 3 secret pavilions. The system has synchronized with all of host's phantom clones, fully activating the decomposition function. The second pavilion was a collection of medicinal herbs, medicinal pills, and countless heavenly materials and earthly treasures were stored here. Lin Chen's clones ran all the way. When their palms touched the cabinet, they engulfed everything and decomposed it all the way to the end. The attribute points couldn't stop soaring. The third secret pavilion was a collection of cultivation methods and mental cultivation methods. From low-grade purple rank cultivation methods to mid-grade purple rank battle skills, and even complete mental cultivation methods, and 2 high-grade purple rank battle skills. Wherever Lin Chun and his clones went, they were like brothels, leaving nothing behind. Everything was decomposed. The fourth secret pavilion was a collection of alchemy handprints and high-grade dire beast cores. The lowest grade of alchemy handprints was mid-grade green rank, and the highest grade was a low-grade purple rank battle skill. Alchemy handprints of mid-grade purple rank and above were extremely precious. Even the fake god families didn't have the resources to get their hands on them. In the Firmament Tower, there was an astronomical number of firmament dollars. Every alchemy handprint scroll was filled with a high-quality mental strength attribute light ball. Because in order to record an alchemy handprint scroll, one needed to use a massive amount of mental strength over a long period of time. Lin Chen's avatar crazily broke down the scroll, not leaving a single scroll behind. There were hundreds of alchemy handprints in the Han family's library. Every scroll was a premium item, but Lin Chen couldn't take any of them away. When he first saw them, he felt that it was a pity. However, he made up his mind. Since he couldn't take them away, he would use the attribute light balls to take them away. Other than the alchemy handprints, the fourth secret pavilion also contained a large number of dire beast cores above rank 6. These dire beast cores were all premium items. There were 1,520 dire beast cores below rank 7, and 315 dire beast cores above rank 7. In terms of dire beast cores alone, it was equivalent to more than 300 combat emperors. Lin Chen decomposed them all. Not even a hair was left. Congratulations, host, for advancing to the mid-stage of level 3 combat emperor. After decomposing all the treasures in the 4 secret pavilions, the amount of attribute points gained was unprecedented. Even with Lin Chen's terrifyingly strong cultivation base, he still managed to advance to the mid-stage of level 3 combat emperor. He broke through 2 realms consecutively. This time, he had used up about 2 million heavenly path points just to decompose the treasures. If it wasn't for the heavenly path points from decomposing the treasures and the fact that Lin Chun had recovered nearly 1 million points, he would only be left with a few 100,000 points. Bang! Roar! The dragon's roar shook the sky. The battle outside the secret pavilion was in full swing. Damn it! What kind of dragon is this? When did it sneak in? What's going on? Someone invaded the Han family's warehouse. All the elders just had to go out at this time. Damn it. Even if there's an old ancestor, a mid-stage rank 7 dragon wouldn't be able to do as he pleases in the Han family. Not good. Its dragon sword is going to slash at us again. Screams and wails resounded at the edge of the cloud bridge. The battle's momentum soared to the 9 heavens, shaking the earth and mountains. The elders of the Han family had already started to arrive. However, most of these elders were below the 5th combat emperor. Even if a dozen of them formed a group, they would still be stopped and slaughtered by the dragon emperor. Have we been discovered? However, the top experts haven't returned yet. I've already emptied this place. There's only 1 secret pavilion left. If the 7th Combat Emperor doesn't come out, no one will be able to break through the encirclement. Lin Chun activated the 5th transformation again. This time, the cultivation of his doppelgangers broke through to the early stage of level 4 Combat Emperor. The 3 doppelgangers immediately flashed out to support the Dragon Emperor, continuously blocking the attacks of the Hun family's experts. It's him? The brat who destroyed our Hun family's great true God blessing ceremony. Damn it, how did he sneak in? The outside world's natural fog doesn't have the Hun family's special method to enter. Even 7th Combat Emperor could get lost in it. Looking down on the divine power. This brat is looking down on the divine power of the Hun family. We must implicate his family and capture him alive, cripple his cultivation, and make him kneel in front of the divine monument for 10,000 years to atone for his sins. When they saw Lin Chen's doppelgangers, all the Hun family's combat emperors seemed to have been injected with chicken blood and went crazy. They quickly rushed towards his doppelgangers. Chapter 605. The faith of the true God that they revered in their hearts was tarnished by this kid. For this, they wouldn't hesitate to give up their lives. The battle on the cloud bridge caused the heavens to fall and the earth to split. However, no matter how they attacked, the corpses of the combat emperors were blocked by Lin Chen's 3 clones and the Dragon Emperor like chickens being slaughtered. Even an early 6th level combat emperor couldn't break through. The elder of the Hun family was so angry that he even went hysterical. If it was in the past, any of the Hun family supreme elders would be in charge. How could this kid be so presumptuous? However, the Hun clan's old ancestors with a cultivation base of 9th level had all left the Divine Province due to the mission given by the great true God. Even the few supreme elders with a cultivation base of 8th level were searching for this boy with all their might due to the true God's wrath. However, they didn't expect that this kid didn't run at all. They didn't know what kind of strange method he used to sneak into the headquarters of the Hun family. Moreover, he even sneaked into the most important forbidden warehouse. As for Lin Chun himself, he rushed towards the ancient palace at the peak of the mountain in the middle. He could faintly feel that there were some powerful auras and attribute light balls in the ancient palace. Swoosh! The purple phoenix wings flapped, and he flashed into the ancient palace. The interior of the palace was at least 1,000 feet tall. There were chains formed by spiritual chi crystals all around, supporting an ancient altar. At this moment, Lin Chen's pupils shrank. What appeared in front of him was a jade-green spiritual stone that looked like a heart. No, it should be a jade-green heart. The jade-green heart was covered with jade-green veins that were pulsating as if it was alive. Behind the jade-green heart, there was a stone tablet that shot up to the heavens. There were even 3 simple and vigorous words carved on it. God's sealing tablet. As for the heart, there were energy chains wrapped around its surface. It was connected to the entire altar, and the energy core was connected to the underground. F*CK, Mother Ker. When Lin Chun used the Golden Eyes twin to check it out, he couldn't help but curse out loud. This heart was absorbing the energy of the underground core of the divine continent. The spirit crystals in the world of the 9 continents were the currency of transactions. Spirit crystals originated from the spirit crystal mines. If the energy of the core of the continent was absorbed, the heaven and earth spirit chi would become thinner day by day, and the production of spirit crystals would continue to decrease. Every time the jade-green heart, it would absorb the spirit chi of the underground core. It's that fake God's doing. Is this what the Sage Realm sages said about using the 9 regions to heal? Lin Chun gritted his teeth. Suddenly, he narrowed his eyes. Inside the dark green heart, he discovered the light of an attribute ball. However, because the spiritual energy was too strong, he couldn't clearly see what kind of attribute light balls were inside. The energy contained within the dark green heart was simply too terrifying. Even if Lin Chun could forcefully absorb a portion of it, he would not have the time to absorb it. When Lin Shun turned to look at the towering stone tablet, the corners of his lips curled into an extremely disdainful smile. God-sealing tablet. What a God-sealing tablet. It extracts the energy of the divine land to heal itself, invades the divine land after it recovers, and calls itself a god on the spot. Lin Shin was so angry that he laughed instead. He spun the spear in his hand and waved the 5-color dragon spear. The sharp golden chi shot out from the spear tip and carved ancient words on the god-sealing tablet. There's no need for a place like this to exist. I'll let you become a god. After today, you'll be a dog. Lin Shin's 5-color dragon spear slashed toward the sky. He used this 79-style, moon-shattering sky river to strike the top of the hall. Bang! Rumble! Lin Shun struck out 5 times consecutively, and the entire hall was split open by him. The Hun family battle emperors who were still fighting outside the cloud bridge were stunned. Hiss! Isn't that the divine altar? Did that kid sneak in there? No. Oh, mortal, you can't blaspheme the divine altar. That's where the divine altar resides. Many of the Hun family's elders screamed hysterically. They saw that the great hall that had been split in half had collapsed. When the altar was revealed, the jade-green heart was also displayed before everyone's eyes. In front of the spirit god sealing divine spirit tablet. Behind the green heart, Lin Shun stood on an energy chain. He held the spear with one hand. His left leg was in front, and his right leg was behind. He stood in a straight line with his toes touching his heels. The young man had a smile on his face. His posture was elegant, dignified, handsome, and dashing. He wore a pair of snow-white gloves and gently wiped his 5-color dragon spear. He looked like a professional snooker player who was wiping his cue stick. He looked like a young man who was in love for the first time caressing his lover's arm. It was very light and gentle. Then he lifted his hips and retracted his waist. His movements were very precise. He held the spear with his right hand and placed the front part of the spear between his left thumb and index finger. I have a gift for the people of the 9 provinces. The young man smiled. His smile was very handsome, very pure, and even a little flirtatious. Rumble. Dragon power exploded. He swung his pole. Lin Shun thrust his spear towards the jade-green heart. At this moment, all the combat emperors of the Hun family were stunned. Their twitching mouths and dull eyes were filled with despair. The tip of the spear pierced through the green heart. Endless energy waves sputtered out. Rumble. The ground shook and the valley rumbled. It was as if millions of volcanoes were erupting. It was as if millions of dragons were dancing in the sky. They gathered in an instant and exploded. The green heart suddenly exploded with endless energy. A beam of light shot out from the center of the heart and shot straight to the 9 heavens. This beam of light shook the void and rushed out of the sea of clouds. It rushed out of the Hun family's headquarters and rushed out of the eastern region of the Divine Land. It rushed straight to the center of the Divine Land above the starry sky. Bang! The beam of light exploded. The earth-shattering sound was like a hurricane. It swept across the sky and fell from the starry sky. The moment the beam of light exploded, countless dazzling green lights fell like flowers from the sky. It was like a lotus flower that gradually bloomed and scattered to every corner of the Divine Land. It was as if millions of meteors bloomed in the middle of the starry sky. At the moment of the explosion, more than half of the Divine Land's trillions of people witnessed this scene. The beautiful green light scattered to every corner of the Divine Land. The green energy nourished the Divine Land and took care of the Divine Land's territory. Some people were on the verge of death. After being illuminated by the green light, they were injected with vitality and came back to life. Some people were stuck at the bottleneck for thousands of years. After a flash of green light, they broke through their cultivation on the spot. Some people were poisoned. After being illuminated by the green light, the poison disappeared. These were the accumulation of spirit energy that belonged to the Divine Land itself. Now, it was returned to the people of the Divine Land in the most dazzling way. The remaining green light in the sky slowly condensed into a large energy word. Indifferent to life and death is my attitude towards life. Fight if you're not convinced is my performance art. Lin Chun. Chapter 606. It's not over yet. It's time to show the people of the 9 states who is the most handsome man. Lin Chun laughed arrogantly as he thrust out his spear 7 times in a row. Then, 7 green light beams shot up into the sky from different directions. This time, the light beams shot across the sky toward the 7 continents. The last one is a welcome gift to the people of the spiritual state. Lin Chun gripped his spear with both hands and swung it horizontally. The spear smashed into the jade green heart. Bam! The most dazzling green light beam shot into the sky and dashed toward the spiritual state at an extremely fast speed. Bam! 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 Dark green light constantly exploded in the sky of 9 regions. Countless energy poured down and scattered in every region, and the majestic energy lingered to form a series of large characters. In the sky above the Ming state, many hidden masters and ancient fortune-tellers looked at the big words in the sky with interest or shock. In the heavens and earth, I am the most handsome man. Lin Chun. In the sky above the blood state, the green energy diluted the bloody and murderous spirit, and this continent that had been plagued by slaughter and chaos finally enjoyed a brief moment of peace. Many creatures stopped fighting after being nourished by the scattered energy light beams. When they looked up at the sky and activated their battle auras, the big words in the sky appeared. I bloom in the midst of slaughter like a flower at dawn. Lin Chun. In the sky above the cloud state, the rolling clouds were pierced through by the green light beams. Then, the clouds exploded, and a majestic energy rain decorated every inch of the continent. All the top blacksmiths, blacksmithing business groups, and top-tier battle Emperor Realm assassins looked up. The green light beams illuminated half of the sky above the continent. So handsome that the sky is the shore, and I am the peak of pretentiousness. The arrogant handsome man is waiting for you to beat him up. Lin Chun. In the sky above the quiet and lifeless island in the Nether State, a beam of green energy suddenly shot across the sky, startling many masters who were exploring the mystical realm. In particular, somewhere in the void of the Nether Continent, an extremely powerful existence with a ferocious aura suddenly opened his eyes. When the jade green energy beam exploded, the energy tide scattered across the land of the underworld region, illuminating the dark areas and revealing a few large words of energy. The Earth Core's energy is only suitable for fireworks. Lin Chun. Fucking fireworks. This sentence made the fake gods from outside the 9 regions feel their scalps tingle, and they gnashed their teeth in anger. Sky Continent was the most peaceful continent. All the sects were still busy teaching their own geniuses. At this moment, a jade-green aurora pierced through the clouds and fell straight into the sky above the Heavenly Book Academy in Tianzhou. It bloomed in the entire Tianzhou and attracted countless young geniuses. When they looked up at the sky, they could not help but be dazzled. It wasn't just the major sects in Tianzhou who were looking up at the starry sky. There was also an academy located on Lingyun Mountain in Tianzhou. This was the branch of Heavenly Song Academy in Tianzhou. In the school, a group of handsome young men and beautiful women looked up at the dazzling green aurora in the sky. The sly and quick-witted girl in red couldn't help but exclaim, "So beautiful! What is this?" The girl in red was Yu Linlin from Class 66. After not seeing her for more than a year, she had lost some of her youthfulness and gained an enchanting beauty that could bring disaster to countries and people. However, the quirkiness that was engraved in her bones had not changed. Such intense energy. It seems like it's going to explode. Yun Manqing, who was wearing a soft and beautiful long dress beside Yu Linlin, said worriedly. She was like a princess from a neighboring country who could topple a city with a single glance. Tianzhou has always been peaceful. Why is there such a huge energy fluctuation? A hint of confusion appeared on her cold and beautiful face. The beauty's appearance and temperament were otherworldly. She was like the bright moon that was quietly hidden on top of a snow mountain. One look at her would move people's hearts and make them confused. However, looking at her from afar, one could not get close. Many geniuses in Tianzhou knew that these beauties with unparalleled temperaments and appearances only had one person in their hearts. That person was the one who had created the heaven-defying legend, the one who had killed 2 emperors and the only student with an orange medal in the history of Heavenly Song Academy, Lin Xun of the spiritual state. Bang! The dark green aurora exploded. The powerful energy fluctuation startled countless powerful warriors in Tianzhou. More than 50 battle emperors instantly broke out of their seclusion and looked at the situation in front of them with shock. The beautiful dark green aurora was like a shower of flowers. When it shone on the earth, it nourished countless living beings. This is the energy from the core of the continent. Some old monsters of the Battle Emperor realm cried out in shock. To extract this level of energy, one had to be at least an 8th or 9th level Battle Emperor, and one alone was not enough. Why would such precious energy fly towards Tianzhou? When an even more shocking scene appeared, the citizens of Tianzhou froze where they stood. After the dark green aurora dissipated, a few words were left behind. My techniques were all picked up by me. Lin Chun. My techniques were all picked up by me? Everyone in class 66 was stunned. Then, everyone's expression became ecstatic and excited. Yin Manxing even covered her face with her hands and cried tears of joy. It couldn't be wrong. Using the energy from the core of the earth like fireworks. In the entire Jiuzhou continent, only one person could do such a thing. That was the class monitor of Class 66, Lin Chun. The boys of Class 66 were ecstatic and shouted excitedly towards the sky. The girls hugged each other and cheered. Their faces were red and their hearts were throbbing. Class monitor is awesome. Ha ha ha. Oh my god, this is too exciting. Isn't Brother Lin Chun in the divine continent? Could it be that this light came from the divine continent? There are only things that we can't think of. There's nothing that the class monitor can't do. Class monitor Lin Chun is the most handsome person in the world. King of single machines, the most handsome person in the world. There's a traitor among us. Beat him up. Danzhou, as usual, was bustling with noise and excitement. A dark green aurora shuttled through the sky, and an earth-shattering explosion shook the sky. The dark green energy surged above Danzhou's holy pill city, startling countless powerful warriors. Those alchemists who had been in seclusion for a long time, those who were hiding in the dark, and those who had participated in the battle all turned to look at the sky above holy pill city. Inside the energy waves, a few big words were vaguely visible. Who is the most powerful person in the Jiuzhou continent? Seeing me, Lin Chun is all for naught. Lin Chun. Lin Chun. This name was too dazzling for the Danzhou continent. Now he had used an even more dazzling, unimaginable method to make the people of Danzhou and the 9 states recognize him. Lin Chun. This was a moment that would go down in history. This name would illuminate the entire Jiuzhou continent. In the starry sky of the spiritual state, the battle emperors of the 2 camps were fighting when a dark green light beam shot over and exploded. Startled, all the battle emperors retreated at once. As the light beam shone down, the remaining energy waves connected into a series of big words. I'll be back. Lin Chun. Hovering in the void, the Vice Academy master smiled. Okay, the entire spiritual state is waiting for you. In the altar of the secret pavilion in the Hun family headquarters, Lin Chun wiped the battle spear in his hand, feeling refreshed. This was probably the best and most satisfying billiard game he had ever played. The most handsome man would play the most awesome billiard game. The most powerful energy would release the most dazzling fireworks. The coolest young man would continue the craziest legend. Chapter 607. In the secret chamber of the void in the firmament tower, the mysterious master of the firmament tower suddenly opened his eyes. His sharp eyes pierced through the void and stared at the Hun family's territory. The pure energy hidden deep in the core of the earth veins came from the Hun family. Could it be? The master of the firmament tower flashed and instantly left the firmament tower. Somewhere in a small dimension, atop a divine mountain, a shrill scream rang out. Damn it! Which piece of trash is it? My saint heart! Who is it? Which bastard touched my saint heart? In the darkness, a short and thin figure appeared faintly. His murderous aura was overwhelming. His eyes were like ghostly fire in the dark night. They burned faintly. His gaze seemed to pierce through the void and see the divine land. When he looked at the headquarters of the Hun family and where the god sealing tablet was, the short figure shook his shoulders. His aura shattered the mountain and the space exploded. It's that human brat, Lin Shun. You again. You again. I've dominated the saints' world for countless years. Since when did a brat like you have a right to act so presumptuously? How dare you destroy my sacred heart? I'll destroy you today. The beast-like roar shattered the entire space. The short figure took a step forward, and his figure seemed to have moved. In the starry sky outside of the 9 states, several figures with auras on different planets or spaces opened their eyes and looked at him with shock and confusion. This is strange. Why did Elder Hun move? Didn't we agree to launch the attack after 200,000 years? Why did he move first? Something is wrong. Something happened to Elder Hun's family. Swoosh. Boom. Boom. Space cracked. A divine light containing endless heavenly might traveled from the starry sky to the sky of the divine land. The divine land fell into chaos as if the wrath of the heavens was brewing. Many people trembled. Many believers in the easternmost region knelt on the ground because this aura was exactly the same as the one that descended on the true God mountain that day. It was their great true God who was angry. It's over. The wrath of the true God is coming to the divine land. It's all your fault. Lin Shun, how could you provoke the wrath of the true God? The great true God gave everything to the Jiuzhou continent. Anyone who looks down on a true God creator deserves to die. I am willing to sacrifice my life and pray for the wrath of the true God to kill him. In the dark easternmost region, countless believers of false gods were kneeling on the ground. The false god of the Hun family was going to forcefully descend upon the divine land. Even if he had to pay the price of increasing his injuries, he had to kill Lin Shun at all costs. At this moment, several presences that had been hiding in the depths of the 9 states quietly woke up. The underworld state, the blood state, the barren state, the bright state, and the spiritual state. Their perception locked onto the divine prefecture. Buzz. The 47th boundary suppressing sacred steel, which was located at the edge of the Hun family's territory, suddenly began to tremble. Thousands of light pillars began to shine from the boundary, suppressing sacred steel. A figure in a green robe stepped out of the pillar of light. His hands were behind his back, and his long hair draped over his shoulders. The scabbard at his waist had no blade, but its sharpness could shake the heavens. When he stood proudly between heaven and earth, his will, which was like ripples of light, spread throughout the entire 9 regions. At this moment, all the swordsmen above the Heaven Dipper realm in the 9 regions, whether it was Saber Venerable or Saber Emperor, had their swords bowed in the direction of the divine prefecture, emitting clanging dragon roars. This was the sign of the Saber Dao's submission. Countless swordsmen cast their shocked and fanatical gazes in the direction of the divine prefecture. In the 9 regions, there were 100 ancient sages, 3 sword saints, and only 1 saber saint, Li Changsheng. Even someone as powerful as the tower master of the firmament pagoda lost his voice in shock. Saber Saint Li Changsheng's spiritual will is about to make a move. In front of the boundary suppressing sacred steel, the green-robed man stretched out his hand toward the sky. Bright moon, lend me a blade. Suddenly, A bright moonlight shone through the dark divine prefecture, illuminating the dark divine prefecture. Thousands of seas churned. Within a radius of 1,000,000 miles, billions of water elemental energy spun like the Milky Way and gathered in Li Changsheng's hand. He used the earth as the blade and the sky as the edge. Thousands of seas as the handle and the moonlight as the blade. The green-robed man wielded the blade with one hand and slashed diagonally. Moon mirror imperial god. This blade, the moon shone on the divine prefecture. The blade light was bright and transparent like water turning into the moon. The blade energy flashed across thousands of miles and soared into the sky. The short figure let out a hoarse roar. Damn you, Li Changsheng. Are you going to stand here until the divine prefecture falls, even in death? He suddenly clawed out a palm from the starry sky. His 5 fingers twisted with a dark green aura of life and death. A giant winged shadow that covered the sky above the Hun family spread out. It was like a falling star that shook the continental plates as it suddenly charged towards that peerless blade. Chi! Rip! There was no earth-shattering explosion or chaos. There was only a bright moon that illuminated the darkness. It easily tore apart the shadow of the giant wings and split the sky. Gee, Li Changsheng, Li Changsheng, I hate you. When I step into the land of the 9 prefectures, I will chew on your bones and drink your blood. The short figure in the dark screamed and turned into a beam of light that escaped into the void. On the horizon, a space crack that was as deep as the abyss appeared. To the left of the crack was the sun, and to the right was the moon. It was as if the universe had been turned upside down. At noon, there was a vision of the sun and the moon. The brilliance of the moonlight overshadowed the radiance of the sun. Countless sharp auras rose from the divine prefecture. Those were the fluctuations of the battle chi of the swordsmen who had broken through the shackles. Countless swordsmen knelt on the ground. Hot tears filled their eyes. Boom, boom, boom. There were also 13 battle chi rainbows that were as bright as the sky. There were actually half-emperors who had stepped into the combat emperor realm. Senior Li Changsheng is indeed the bright moon of the 9-region Saber Dao. The tower master of the firmament pagoda, who was far away, was shocked. All the swordsmen who had witnessed this saber had broken through in different areas. There were even 13 half-step combat emperors who had broken through to the Saber Emperor realm. The charm, power, and truth of the Saber Dao of this saber had created 13 Saber Emperors in the divine prefecture. The countless believers of the false god stared blankly at this scene. The great true god was forced to retreat by this saber. The man in green placed his hands behind his back and laughed loudly. Ha ha ha! Since the heavens have given birth to me, Li Changsheng, the Saber Dao is as bright as the moon. As the laughter faded away, the man in green disappeared. The light of the world suppressing sacred steel dimmed and was about to disappear. Inside the altar of the Hun family's headquarters, all the combat emperors of the Hun family who had rushed over to provide support were stunned. They had witnessed with their own eyes that the green heart had been pierced by Lin Shun with just a few spear strikes. When the dark green heart disappeared, the tall god-sealing tablet appeared. At this moment, the god-sealing tablet had lost its pretentious supreme divine aura. All that was left was a sharp and murderous spear intent. In front of the god-sealing tablet stood a young man in a silver robe with a 5-color dragon spear in his hand. The corner of his mouth curled up into a smile. He did not hide his overbearing arrogance at all. The god-sealing tablet behind him was only left with a series of bold and ancient words. The god-sealing tablet is engraved on Lin Shun. With me, Lin Shun, there is no god. At this moment, a new era had begun in the history of the 9 regions. Chapter 608. Retrieving the Golden Eye's twin, Lin Shen's heart was surging with endless respect. Senior Li Changsheng is indeed the only sword saint in the ancient times. Then, Lin Shen turned to look at the broken green heart. Now that the energy was gone and the energy chain was broken, the energy from the core of the continent had returned to the ground. It wouldn't be easy to extract it again. Lin Chun smashed the broken green heart with his spear. An orange light pillar suddenly bloomed and shone. 2 treasure chests inlaid with orange crystals floated in the air. Lin Chen's mouth was wide open as he stood there in a daze. What a King Great Fortune. The attribute light ball inside the green heart was actually an orange crystal treasure chest, and there were 2 of them. Killing the Han family's headquarters is really a great fortune. Lin Chen was ecstatic. Whether it was destroying the fake Saint Heart that extracted the energy from the core of the continent, raiding the Han family, or these 2 orange crystal treasure chests, they were all great rewards. Opened orange crystal treasure chest. Obtained one-time use orange talent. Godslayer fragment for thirds. Opened orange crystal treasure chest. Obtained 1 talent combo frame. Godslayer fragment. Talent combo frame. The treasures from orange crystal treasure chests never disappointed Lin Chun. 2 Godslayer talents. Now, I can use Godslayer talents twice in absolute life and death. That's enough. Now, I have enough strength to fight back to the spiritual state. Lin Chen's eyes bloomed with overbearing, killing intent. Maybe he could accumulate and enter the firmament tower for a while and grow stronger. However, Lin Chun was worried about the spiritual state and Byron. He couldn't wait any longer. The smell of blood filled the air, and bones of emperors were everywhere. The combat emperors of the Han family who came to help were only left with 2 mid-stage 6th-level combat emperors. Lin Chun of the spiritual state. You're courting death. A thunderous roar resounded through the sky. A middle-aged man with sharp eyebrows and bright eyes stepped on the sky. He was the mid-stage 7th-level sword emperor of the Han family. He was the elder who had left the Han family's territory to search for Lin Chun. He was the closest 7th-level combat emperor. He was in charge of the warehouse of the Han family's forbidden grounds. After something happened to the Han family's secret pavilion, he immediately returned. At the moment he returned to the Han clan, he was both shocked and furious. He truly never imagined that this kid would actually still be here. He had destroyed the sacred mountain and snatched the sacred tablet's inheritance. All the experts of the Han family had agreed that his goal was the sacred tablet. Even when they wanted to hunt him down and kill him, he was still able to create a diversion. When he saw the words Lin Chun carved on the god's sealing tablet and the broken jade green heart, the Sword Emperor Elder was completely enraged. A Sword Emperor in the middle of the 7th stage. His strength might be close to a War Emperor in the late 7th stage. Lin Chun narrowed his eyes. Even though his cultivation had increased greatly, and his attributes had soared by a huge wave, facing an opponent that was close to the late 7th stage. Even if Lin Chun brought out all of his clones, it would still be very difficult for him to fight head-on. Moreover, he had no reason to continue staying here. Clang! The Hun clan's sword sovereign unsheathed his sword and let out a dragon's roar. 6th transformation, ultimate moment. Lin Chen's cultivation advanced to the middle of the 4th stage like a hot knife through butter. He kept his battle spear, and the battle chi and 9 tribulations origin in his body rapidly decreased. Crimson Cloud Sword. The sword edge swung rapidly, and the sword chi slashed vertically. It turned into a rolling crimson cloud and slashed down furiously, illuminating the entire Han clan's headquarters in the sea of clouds. It was as if the sun had set before dusk. Han clan's lackey, try this. Lin Chun suddenly shouted coldly. 9 colored lights circulated in his palm, like stars shining brightly. 2 offensive talismans were activated, and Lin Chun threw it out. The 9 tribulation star was like an extremely small meteor, crashing into the crimson cloud rainbow that spanned across the sky. Feeling the destructive waves that burst out from the 2, the remaining 2 6th-stage combat emperors retreated rapidly, as if they had seen a ghost. The clones covered the Dragon Emperor's retreat. Above the Han clan's forbidden grounds, the crimson cloud rainbow suddenly exploded. Chi! Rumble! The crimson cloud rainbow was smashed into pieces by the 9 tribulation star that fell from the sky like a meteor. The Sword Emperor of the Hun clan's expression changed drastically. What kind of ultimate skill is this? Such a terrifying combat skill was unheard of, not to mention that it was executed by a young man who had not even reached the 5th stage combat emperor. The 9 tribulation star crashed into the Sword Emperor of the Hun clan. When it exploded, it dispersed a 9-colored light pillar. The 9-colored light pillar swallowed the sea of clouds, and the dark fog dissipated. The light pillar continued to expand, and the center of it revolved with an energy wave that could destroy all living things. Even Lin Chun himself did not dare to get too close. Compared to the last time, when he used the 9 tribulation star, the 9 elemental attributes were only slightly more than 20,000 points. But now, Lin Chen's elemental attributes, other than the light and darkness attributes, which were at 70,000 points, had all exceeded 90,000 points. His water attribute had reached an unimaginable 14,000 points. With this value, coupled with Lin Chen's explosive increase in cultivation and the level 5 penetration talisman, the power of the skill had increased by a few times. When a 9-colored light pillar dissipated, a figure in a sorry state retreated from it. His body was covered in blood, and it was a ghastly sight. The Sword Emperor's right arm was missing, and his sword was damaged. There was a fist-sized wound on his left abdomen, and there were several jade-green emperor bones on his body. It was as if he had 1 foot in the gates of hell. You have such strength at such a young age. If you advance to the 8th or 9th stage combat emperor, wouldn't you be invincible among the combat emperors? The Sword Emperor of the Hun clan was furious and shocked. Rip! The purple moonlight swirled, and a fist wind violently hit the top of his head. The Sword Emperor of the Hun clan only used 1 arm, and with a backhand, he unleashed 5 sword chi. Bang! Rumble! The fist and palm collided, and an energy mushroom cloud exploded in the sky. Lin Chen's arm cracked, and blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. Even though the Sword Emperor of the Hun clan was severely injured, the 7th stage combat emperor's cultivation was still a huge gap in front of Lin Chun. However, he had achieved his goal, consumed 4,950 talent points. The Divine Stealing Omen has been successfully cast. Stolen from the target, 5,000 intermediate metal energy points. The Azure Dragon turned into a beam of dragon light and entered Lin Chen's body. A few of his doppelgangers used their movement techniques and took away the attribute light ball dropped by the Sword Emperor of the Han clan. I gained 5,000 metal energy points in one go. It's worth it. It's time to go. Super dimensional teleportation. Just as the Sword Emperor of the Hun clan was about to fight to the death with Lin Chun, a bright light flashed above Lin Chen's head. When the light shone down, Lin Chen disappeared in an instant. What? The Sword Emperor of the Hun clan was stunned. When he released his battle chi to check the surroundings, he couldn't sense Jiang Chen's aura. The 2 6th-stage combat emperors who were lucky enough to survive were the same. They were dumbfounded. Damn it, that kid ran away again. Find him. He might still be nearby. The Sword Emperor of the Hun clan roared. One day later, 7 figures stood in front of the god sealing tablet. When the supreme elders of the Hun clan saw the emerald green heart that exploded into a pile of fragments, they fell into a strange silence, especially the sentence on the god sealing tablet. With me, Lin Chun, there will be no gods. It made the supreme elders of the Hun clan so angry that their eyes almost popped out of their sockets. However, no one dared to move. Chapter 609. No matter how angry the higher-ups of the Hun family were, they didn't dare to touch the god sealing tablet. This was because it was left behind by the great true god of the Hun family. They weren't qualified to touch it. Pass down my order. From today onwards, the entire family is not allowed to cultivate in seclusion. Summon all the battle emperors of the branch families to hunt down Lin Shun of the spiritual state with all their might. A late-stage level 8 Hun family elder shouted. The Hun family, which had been silent for tens of thousands of years, was about to come out. This was a vast and boundless world. Looking at it with the naked eye, it was as if there was no end to it. There were towering mountains that were tens of thousands of feet tall and towering ancient trees that covered hundreds of acres of land. They had lived for hundreds of thousands of years and were like vast rivers that spanned across the galaxy. Red phoenixes soared in the sky, their eyes flashing with flames. In an ancient and dilapidated valley, some ferocious bee skeletons were still flowing with ferocious energy even after their deaths. The air in all directions was distorted. Near the river, giant beasts that were hundreds of feet tall exuded a majestic aura. They lowered their heads to drink water and were vigilant of their surroundings. This place was filled with a primitive and desolate aura. This was the Barren State. It was the largest land in the Jiuzhou continent and was the territory of countless ferocious beasts. There was a towering tree that stood nearby. It was faintly flowing with a strong, ferocious energy that frightened all the high-level ferocious beasts within thousands of miles. Roar! The sound waves were like tides, shattering everything. Ferocious winds swept up within thousands of miles. The earth veins cracked, and the spatial crystal walls destroyed countless living beings. Some low-level ferocious beasts were smashed into dust by the roar. I didn't expect that I would be able to open the 600,000 dragon veins after a series of high-intensity battles and escapes. I have advanced in the category of high-level level 7 ferocious beasts. The low and muffled roar was filled with joy. In the ancient tree, an azure dragon revealed its vast dragon body. Even though it had shrunk in size, its aura was still ferocious and ferocious. Long Kuan, who was escaping for his life. When Long Kuan turned to look at Lin Shun, who was sitting cross-legged on the side, the joy in his heart was reduced by half. Compared to himself, this human youth who had inherited the inheritance of his previous Azura master was the true heaven-defying one. When he had first met Luo Yunyang, he had only been a 9th-level Yuan Venerate. Long Kuan had followed him from the inner part of the firmament tower. Long Kuan had seen his improvement. It was not an exaggeration to say that his improvement was unprecedented. Now, even a 6th-level combat emperor would fall if he encountered him. Under the 7th-level combat emperor, he was almost invincible. What a terrifying kid. Based on his growth, I'm afraid he'll be invincible under the Saint Realm in another 10 years. Long Kuan exclaimed at his heart. Compared to such a legendary figure, his improvement was truly insignificant. At this moment, Lin Shun was immersed in the system. Heavenly Tao Possession System version 5.0 Host. Lin Shun Cultivation. Mid-3rd level Battle Emperor Realm. Mid-grade Battle Chi Essence. 108. 93 million points. Maximum Strength. 3. 95 million Dragon Power. Divine Force. 4. 99 million. Intermediate HP. 95. 6 million points. Intermediate Spiritual Power. 40,500 points. Early stage of the Heavenly Arrival State. Intermediate Cultivation Method Soul Essence. 5. 69 million points. Intermediate Rune Energy. 9. 66 million points. Heavenly Tao Points. 5. 96 million points. Talent Points. 8. 55 million points. Intermediate Elemental Energy. Fire Element 94,660 points. Earth Element 88,870 points. Wood Element 86,458 points. Metal Element 101,225 points. Water Element 153,358 points. Lightning Element 98,850 points. Wind Element 89,280 points. Light Element 71,860 points. Dark Element 79,030 points. Cultivation Method Status Column Open. Bloodline Status Column Open. Passive Innate Skills green rank, reinforced iron bones 100%, green rank, dual cultivation acacia, blue rank, life increase 200%, blue rank, divine force 75%, blue rank, emperor slayer active innate skills, blue rank, stealing omen, blue rank, super dimensional teleportation, blue rank, fatal bloodthirst, purple rank, ultimate moment, purple rank, ultimate return, purple rank, sovereign's descent, cooldown, 23 days. One-time use orange rank, God Slayer X2, fragment 1/3, quasi-orange rank, absolute life and death. Attribute rune, slow level 5, penetration level 5, recharge level 5, phantom level 5. Innate skill combination skill, fatal bloodthirst, super dimensional teleportation. Blank attribute, 9,540 points, can be converted to any attribute. Treasures, it would not be an exaggeration to use the word terrifying to describe the attribute points he had gained this time. Lin Shun, who had decomposed the Hun family's foundation, had rune energy close to 10 million points. His innate skill points had exceeded 8 million points. System, I want to use the third innate skill combination box. Lin Shen's heart was filled with excitement. Register the third innate skill, Sovereign's Descent. Registration successful. Innate skill combination skill, fatal bloodthirst, super dimensional teleportation, Sovereign's Descent. If the combination skill is triggered, there is no shared cooldown and it can be used immediately. Originally, Lin Shen had planned to register the absolute life and death talent. However, this innate skill was playing with his life. He was burning his life, battle chi, vitality, and spiritual power to fight. Only by killing the target would he be able to recover all of this and remove the innate skill status. This innate skill was simply too dangerous. He hadn't used it before, so who knew what kind of consequences it would bring? If he rashly registered it, he might even lose his life. Lin Shun had the ability to decide which innate skill to use after triggering the combination skill. However, he didn't dare to use absolute life and death rashly. Registering this innate skill was equivalent to locking the third innate skill combination box. Rather than that, he might as well register the safest and most practical Sovereign's Descent. If it ignores the cooldown, it means that the Sovereign's Descent that could only be used once a month before can be used unconditionally as long as the innate skill combination skill is triggered. Lin Shun was even more confident now. Damn it, in the future, when there was a group battle, he would be the first to rush to the front. With the Sovereign's Descent talent in hand, he would just have to fight to the death. What a pity. I can't register a one-time innate skill. Otherwise, if I register as a God Slayer, I, Lin Shun, would be free to roam the Jiuzhou continent to the end. Lin Shun sighed. The God Slayer innate skill was something he loved and hated at the same time. System, enhanced the Divine Force innate skill to 100%. Consumed 400,000 innate skill points. Enhanced the Divine Force innate skill, 100%. Boom. Lin Shen's pure strength was originally 3.95 million dragon power points, and the 75% divine power points buff was 4.99 million. Now it had reached 5.05 million dragon power points. Blank attribute, convert to spiritual force. This time, the 9,540 blank attribute points that Lin Shun had obtained from the decomposition process had all been converted into a middle-grade spiritual force, causing his spiritual force to break through 50,000 points. His spiritual force, at the early stages of the heavenly completion realm, was already close to breaking through the bottleneck of the middle grade. It's time to set off. I'll have to face all the ancient families in the spiritual state, and I don't have enough rune energy no matter how high it is. For now, I won't activate the fusion function and rely on luck. Lin Shen abruptly opened his eyes, and a bolt of lightning flashed through them. His current strength was no longer the same as before, but in terms of one-on-one combat, he could only fight against an early 7th-stage combat emperor. Perhaps if all of his clones focused their attacks, he would be able to fight against an intermediate 7th-stage combat emperor. However, facing those above the late stage of the 7th level of the War Emperor, he still had to use the level 5 slow rune, or 9 tribulation star, to contend against them. Thus, he could not use his rune energy recklessly. Kid, are you done? Long Kuan raised his head and asked. Lin Shun withdrew the fierceness between his eyebrows and chuckled. No problem. Let's go, we'll set off for Danzhou. Set off for Danzhou. The last step before returning to the spiritual state was to call for reinforcements. Whoever was more powerful would call for reinforcements. Chapter 610. In the past 7 days, the entire barren state was in chaos. All the major beast clans were so shocked that they sent out 7th-grade beasts to investigate, but none of them returned. Either that, or they were beaten to a pulp. Unknowingly, there was a rumor circulating in the barren state. There was a young human and 2 azure dragons. Wherever they went, not even a single blade of grass was left. This human and 2 dragons even looted the warehouses of many beast clans and the gardens that specialized in cultivating heavenly treasures. In the end, the super first-grade beast clans in the barren state started to send out experts to investigate. Only then did this human and 2 dragons completely disappear. On the other hand, the Divine Land was in chaos. The Hun family officially announced to the world that they were officially wanted. Lin Shun of the spiritual state. If anyone could capture or kill him, they could bring his head to the Hun family to receive a top-grade, high-grade purple combat skill, a top-grade 7th-grade weapon, and a top-grade 7th-grade elixir. This reward shocked the entire Divine Land. Each reward was enough to make a 7th-grade combat emperor and above want to take action. On the 10th day of the Hun family's incident, in the backyard of the Yang family's residence in the Dan state, Young mistress, leave quickly. Long Ao is coming with his men. In the backyard, a few personal maids hurriedly pulled Yang Qinger, who was wearing a snow-white robe, and flew out of the backyard. But if I leave, what will happen to father and the others? Yang Qinger was burning with anxiety as she said. This is the master's intention. He said that young mistress already has a sweetheart, so there's no need to let you go and suffer. One of the maids who pulled Yang Qinger away turned around and said. Yang Qinger's heart felt warm. However, it was because her father cared about her that she did not want to make things difficult for him. This Long Ao's ancestor was from the Azure Dragon clan in the Barren State. He himself had the Azure Dragon bloodline and was one of the top geniuses in the Dan State. He was only 7,000 years old, but he was already a 3rd-grade combat emperor. He was a genius that would be recorded in the history books. By chance, Long Ao fell in love with Yang Qinger at first sight. His attitude was firm, and he came to propose marriage several times. Today, he even came with 8 dragon palanquins to take Yang Qinger into his family. Not only was this person extremely talented, but the power behind him was also terrifying. Not only was it an ancient family, but also the Dragon clan. Even though the Yang mansion was also an ancient family, they did not dare to offend him. Yang Qinger waved her sleeves and instantly released the maidservant's hand. She turned and flew back, causing the maidservant's expressions to change slightly. What's wrong, Miss Qing? Suddenly, the young man's puzzled voice made Yang Qinger happy. When she turned her head back, Lin Shun was sitting on Long Kuan's dragon back, floating behind Yang Qing. Upon seeing Lin Shun, Yang Qinger seemed to have found her pillar of support. She started to cry pitifully. Prince Lin Shun, our young manor is in big trouble. Can you help us? Lin Chen's expression changed. The Yang residence was in big trouble? How could he, Yang Zhuanfeng, just stand by and watch? It's fine. No matter how big the trouble is, it won't be a problem. Leave it to me. In the Yang mansion's main hall, the faces of the Yang mansion's upper echelons turned ugly. Cut the crap. Today, he would either let Qinger get on the dragon sedan chair. I, your father, will personally welcome her. Otherwise, I, your father, will tear down your lousy residence. A burly young man waved his hand fiercely. He was wearing a dragon robe and had a saber at his waist. His evil aura was overflowing. His cultivation was actually at the early 3rd level of the Combat Emperor realm. His age was also considered to be extremely young in the Combat Emperor realm. It was Long Ao. Everyone in the Yang residence, the few dragon ancestors behind us, also want to see the alchemy level of our future granddaughter-in-law. I hope that everyone can help us, right? At this time, 2 black-robed old men laughed. The chi in their body faintly revealed that they were both at the early 6th level of the Combat Emperor realm. Their tone did not hide their unwillingness to back down. Moreover, they had already made it clear to the dragon ancestors behind them, the experts of the dragon race. Although the patriarch of the Yang family was calm, his expression showed that he was in a dilemma. I didn't expect to see such a wonderful scene when I just came here. This patriarch of the Yang family is also a man who values relationships and righteousness. Just like the ancient families, there were many who married their daughters off for benefits. He actually planned to protect his daughter. The experts of the dragon race are not to be trifled with. Those guys are also a group of lunatics, second only to the Azura clan in the ancient times. Even if the Yang residence is a family of alchemists in the Dan region, they still have to think twice. In the corner of the hall, there was a group of people calmly looking at the situation of the Yang residence. Among them, there were some 5th-level combat emperors, some 6th-level combat emperors, and there were even a few 7th-level combat emperors. In the corner, there were 2 gray-robed men who were silent. Their chi was even more terrifying. Compared to the 7th-level combat emperors, they were a few levels stronger. However, they did not seem to have the intention to interfere in this matter. Your Excellency Long Ao, other than my daughter, the other girls of the Yang residence, the patriarch of the Yang family wanted to say something. Long Ao's eyes were like lightning. His chi was like a wild dragon coming out of the sea. One by one, the shadows of the azure dragon disappeared from his eyes. He raised his hand and violently punched out like lightning. The higher-ups of the Yang family were aghast. They did not expect this person to be so overbearing and arrogant. He attacked just because of a disagreement. Boom! Bang! A shadow of the azure dragon rushed out from the fist. The dragon pierced through the clouds and blasted open the entire hall of the Yang residence. It went straight to the 9th floor and blasted out a big hole. F*CK. I gave you face, but you don't want it. Yang residents, don't refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. This young master will give you one last chance. Are you going to hand her over or not? This daddy has taken a fancy to Yang Qing. The number of women who want to lie under this daddy can line up from here to the barren state. This daddy has already brought a dragon palanquin here. Asking for your Yang residence's women is already giving you face. Don't be so shameless. Long Ao spat out his saliva in disdain. The elders of the Yang residence were angry, but did not dare to say anything. The patriarch of the Yang residence's expression was getting sharper. No matter how bad they were still an ancient family. This fist almost hit the patriarch of the Yang family. What dignity did they have left? Seeing the patriarch of the Yang family's expression change, the combat emperor elder who accompanied Long Ao suddenly narrowed his eyes and secretly circulated his battle chi. Just as the patriarch of the Yang family was about to get angry, 2 figures rushed into the hall. The youth in the lead waved his hand anxiously. Patriarch Yang, I heard that the Yang family is in big trouble. What's going on? Do you need my help? Everyone turned to look at him. When Long Ao saw the figure of the beauty, he was first happy, then he was furious, because he saw that the silver-robed youth was actually holding Yang Qing'er's hand. Someone beat him to it. Damn it, Dai. Without saying a word, Long Ao's figure rushed forward like a ferocious dragon out of the sea. When he got close to Lin Shun, he punched out. This time, he used his true ability. The dragon's roar shook the heavens and the earth, and his fist swept through the 4 seas. Unexpectedly, Lin Shun did not even look at him. At the same time that he pushed Yang Qing'er away, he waved his hand, and the dark calamity battle chi swallowed Long Ao's battle chi. Lin Shun grabbed his fist with one hand like lightning and spun it in the air. Not only did he remove his pure strength, he even flipped his entire body over. Everyone was shocked. Long Ao's punch. Even a fourth-level combat emperor would not be able to resolve it so easily. This kid flipped Long Ao over with just a wave of his hand. After flipping Long Ao over with one hand, Lin Chun directly slapped him. Slap. Bang. The slap caused Long Ao to vomit blood and even smashed his head into the ground. Then, Lin Chun calmly stepped on Long Ao's face without looking at him. Poochie. Crack. Crack. The sound of bones cracking could be heard, and teeth flew out. Hiss. Everyone from the Yang family sucked in a breath of cold air. What the F asterisk CK? A lift. A palm. A kick. Like clouds and flowing water. What kind of god was this? He was able to beat the third-level combat Emperor Long Ao until he vomited blood. Stepping on Long Ao under his foot, the good youth who respected the old and loved the young asked anxiously from the bottom of his heart, "Where's the trouble? Where's the big trouble? Patriarch Yang, say something. You're making me anxious. Where's the Yang family's big trouble?" The experts in the hall twitched their mouths. "Brother, big brother, the big trouble is under your feet." His teeth flew out. Chapter 611. Yang Qingyur covered her red lips with her jade-like hand. She knew that Lin Shun was a combat emperor the last time they met, but she never thought that he would be so strong. That was Long Ao, a third-level combat emperor. He was also a physique refinement emperor with the Azure Dragon bloodline. His potential was close to the same level as the descendant of God. Even in their Yang mansion, he would be considered a top master. Aside from Yang Kai's father and some of the grand elders who were extremely old, almost no one could stop him. His real combat strength was close to a fourth-level combat emperor, or at least a third-level late-level combat emperor. Even if Lin Shun was a combat emperor, he was only 21 years old, right? Could it be that he was already a third-level combat emperor at 21 years old? Even the strong warriors who were sitting in the dark couldn't help but twitch their mouths when they saw this scene. This guy was really ruthless. His attacks were clean and neat, without any pause. This kind of combat experience was quite impressive even among the high-level combat emperors. His pure strength is above Long Ao. Suddenly, one of the two gray-clothed men who were sitting in the darkest corner said with a hoarse voice, "Why is everyone so quiet? Don't you trust me?" Lin Shun was even more anxious. He never thought that the person under his feet was the big trouble that the Yang mansion had mentioned. Along the way from the Firmament Tower, Lin Shun had killed countless fourth and fifth-level combat emperors. In his eyes, a mere third-level combat emperor was just a piece of trash that he could casually kill. How dare you offend the genius of the Long family? Let go of your dog leg. The two sixth-level combat emperors of the Long family were furious. The other 6 combat emperors who came with them suddenly stood up. Rip! A shadow flashed, and the Yang mansion's elder who had been hiding in the dark suddenly appeared. The 6th-level late-level combat emperor swept out and stood in front of the 2 men from the Long family, intimidating everyone. Everyone, don't tell me that you want to disregard your reputation and interfere in the affairs of the younger generation. The elder with white hair and a youthful complexion casually said with a smile. This Yang mansion's grand elder was naturally one of the higher-ups who knew about Lin Chen's summons. Although he could see that Lin Chen's pure strength was above Long Ao's, the 6th-level combat emperor was 2 completely different levels from Long Ao. In order to protect Lin Chen, he didn't hesitate to show himself, because Lin Chen's potential was worth their gamble. He, an old monster of the Yang mansion, huh? However, it's not up to you to make the decision today. A yellow-robed old man who had been sitting beside a few second-level combat emperors walked out slowly with a walking stick in his hand. He looked weak, but when the walking stick touched the ground, the entire Yang mansion shook. The Supreme Elder of the Yang residence cried out in shock. Seventh level combat emperor? No one had expected that the Long family would actually send out a 7th level combat emperor for Long Ao's marriage proposal. Existences of this level were usually experts who rarely appeared in the world. Brat, raise your dirty feet. The yellow-robed old man swept his gaze over Lin Shun and flicked his finger. His finger light was like a ray of light that flashed through the void. Whoosh! The finger light tore apart Lin Chen's figure and turned it into nothingness. It was just an afterimage. 7th level combat emperor. So you guys are the big trouble of the Yang mansion? Lin Shun flashed to Yang Qing'er's side and laughed casually. This speed made the yellow-robed old man squint his eyes and ask, Brat, who are you? Me? I live next door. My surname is Yang. I'm looking for old Yang for something. I specialize in treating infertility, massage, and healthcare. The fee is only 998. Lin Shun raised his eyebrows and ignored this old tortoise. Prince Lin Shun, they're the experts of the Long family, Yang Qing'er whispered in Lin Chen's ears. Her unique voice made Lin Chen's ears numb. She simply told the reason of the matter to Lin Shun. At this time, Long Ao, whose facial features were distorted and badly mutilated, stood up angrily. So it's like this, Miss Qing'er. It's not a good thing to have a beautiful voice and a beautiful face. Lin Shun played with the beauty's hair and laughed mockingly. Yang Qing'er rolled her eyes at him. Damn it! Who do you think you are? How dare you whisper sweet nothings to my Qing? Long Ao scolded. Lin Shun raised his eyebrows. He had seen people who felt good about themselves and shameless people, but he had never seen such a shameless person. When did she become your Qing? Who do I think I am? Which little loudspeaker are you? Lin Shun laughed in disdain. He then reached out and hugged the beauty's soft and slender waist. The moment he hugged Yang Qing'er, he said in a clear voice, I will not change my name when I go down, and when I sit, I will not change my surname. Acting tough is a dragon. People call me Lost Ambition, a big black spear in the waves, the most handsome in the 9 states, Lin Shun of the spirit state. What kind of name is this? When they heard the last 2 words, Lin Shun of the spirit state, all the masters present suddenly changed their expressions. Needless to say, the masters of the Long family couldn't sit still. They suddenly stood up. This guy is Lin Shun of the spirit state. You are Lin Shun? The yellow-robed elder sucked in a cold breath. In the current 9 regions, this name had almost reached the point where there was no one who didn't know about it. Nonsense! Who would dare to impersonate me? The most difficult person to impersonate in the world is me. Polish your dog eyes and take a good look. With this handsome face, you can see who can impersonate me. Lin Shun patted his face and laughed shamelessly. Then his expression changed, and the corner of his mouth curled up, overflowing with arrogance. Yang Qing'er is my woman. I don't care if you are from the Long family or the Dragon Clan. I only have one thing to say. F***CKU. Get lost as far as you can. Lin Shun waved his hand domineeringly, and the beauty in his arms trembled. Yang Qing'er raised her head and bit her cherry lips. Her beautiful eyes stared at the side of the young man's face with confusion, and her heart palpitated. That he should have said that. I am his woman. Although it wasn't true, and it was very likely that he wanted to divert the Long family's attention to him. But the moment he said it, she actually wavered, die. Before the yellow-robed elder could react, Long Ao suddenly pulled out his saber. The 7th-grade saber glowing dragon in his hand was like a blazing sun, hanging high in the sky. Countless dragons roared, and the entire Yang mansion shook. The saber slashed above Lin Chen's head. The power of this saber was comparable to a 4th-level combat emperor. Clang! Rumble! The crisp and hard sound of metal colliding rang. The ground under Lin Chen's feet cracked inch by inch, and the cracks continued to extend like a giant python. The violent battle chi of the Azure Dragon crushed the space crystal wall and turned into a hurricane that swept through the hall. When this terrifying wind was about to overturn the entire Yang Mansion's hall, 100 jong tall battle chi water screen rose from the surroundings. The violent battle chi and the battle chi that shattered the space surged on the water screen, creating layers of ripples. All the power was absorbed and swallowed by the water screen. When the water screen disappeared, Long Ao, who was at the center of the water screen, held his saber with both hands and slashed at Lin Chun. His saber was still 3 feet away from Lin Chen's face, and it didn't move an inch. Because what blocked his path was Lin Chen's right index finger, which he had casually raised. The tip of his finger was against the saber, and it was flickering with a faint golden light. One finger. He only used one finger to block Long Ao's full power saber. When all the strong warriors looked at it, their hearts trembled fiercely. How King strong was he? That was a saber that was comparable to a 4th-level combat emperor. No matter how weak he was, he shouldn't be so weak. He only used one finger to block it. No one knew who was the one who sucked in cold air and muttered to himself, "Just how tough is he? Oh my God, he's so hard. You're so slutty." Chapter 612. To block the attack of a 4th-level combat emperor with one finger, one needed to be at least a 6th-level combat emperor. A 21-year-old youth was comparable to a 6th-level combat emperor. If they didn't see it with their own eyes, no one would believe it. His finger bounced back, and the tip of his finger flipped over Long Ao's blade. The violent and overbearing pure strength made his blade fly out of his hand. Long Ao took a few steps back. His expression was frightened, as if he had seen a ghost. Lin Chun was now at the 3rd-level combat emperor, and his cultivation had already surpassed Long Ao, not to mention that he himself was a monster of a higher level and a higher level. His cultivation was at the middle stage of the 3rd level, and he had over 100,000 points of intermediate metal energy. This caused his metal calamity battle body to reach an indestructible boundary. But in terms of hardness, when Lin Chun activated his metal calamity battle body, his flesh was as hard as a 7th-level low-grade weapon. Not to mention that his pure strength had reached 5,050,000 dragon power points. To put it bluntly, Lin Chun could kill Long Ao with just one finger. Lin Chun held the beautiful woman's slender waist with one hand and waved his fist. The fist wind was like a dragon piercing through the world, smashing fiercely towards Long Ao's chest. The force that could cut off the river caused the space crystal wall to sink into a vacuum zone. Clang! Bang! A pitch-black cane stood between the two of them, blocking Lin Chen's fist wind. The water curtain continued to absorb the impact, preventing the hall from collapsing. The 7th-level combat emperor elder of the Long family stood not far away from Lin Chun. Lin Chun raised his eyebrows and fearlessly took a step forward. This step represented Lin Chen's position. This kid is so overbearing. If that punch hits, the young master will have to die here. The yellow-robed elder squinted his eyes. His vigorous and powerful palm slightly bent. The pure gold battle chi was like a giant pung spreading its wings, overflowing with power. A mere 3rd-level combat emperor. Were you pretending to be? You can't do it, so you call yourself old? That's fine too. I've never been afraid of a group fight. No matter if you're old or young, I'll take care of you all today. Lin Chun pulled Yang Qing'er behind him and pointed at the 2 6th-level combat emperors and all the other combat emperors of the Long family. He said disdainfully, "Just one of you is not enough to defeat me. All of you stand out. If there's anyone who doesn't agree, carry them out of the Yang residence today." Boom! Just as he finished speaking, 4 beams of divine light descended from the sky. The 4 great clones came out together and stood in 4 directions around Lin Chun. When he saw this scene, the yellow-robed old man who intended to forcefully crush Lin Chun instantly felt his scalp go numb. 4 doppelgangers? Furthermore, each of them gave off an oppressive feeling that was not inferior to the main body at all. This kind of ultimate skill was unheard of. Even Long Ao, who wanted to rely on his family's prestige to suppress Lin Chun, felt his blood run cold. If that punch had landed, he would have died without a doubt. Now, there were 4 more. Even someone as strong as his Long family's grand elder might not be able to protect him. This time, it was the Long family's turn to be angry, but didn't dare to say anything. They had seen Lin Chen's strength clearly. One was already so strong that it was scary. Now, there were 4 more. Then there was no point in fighting. The Yang residence's grand elder, who wanted to protect Lin Chen, couldn't help but shake his head and laugh. Protect my ass. This brat's strength was much stronger than his. It was more likely that this brat would protect the Yang residence. F*CK, are you fighting or not? Give me a quick answer. I'm worth a few 100 million per second. I don't have time to waste with you. Lin Chen's shoulders shook, and his aura further suppressed everyone in the Long family. Talented people are born in every generation. Lin Chen of the spiritual state, you really live up to your reputation. The yellow-robed old man smiled insincerely. He flipped his palm and pushed the 2 6th-level elders with a wave of energy. Today's matter, my Long family has disturbed you. I didn't expect to see the legendary Lin Chen. I admit defeat. The 2 elders hurriedly protected Long Ao, afraid that something would happen to this little ancestor. The yellow-robed old man waved his hand. Let's go. Today's matter, my Long family has disturbed the Yang residence. F*CKU. Lin Chen punched again. The yellow-robed old man stretched out his hand and slapped out. The fist and palm collided. What are you trying to do? Do you really think my Long family is easy to bully? The yellow-robed old man was furious. So what if I bully you? Didn't you bully the Yang residents just now? I, Lin Chen, even dared to bully the Divine Continent's false god soul family. Why can't I deal with your F*King Long family? F*CK. What do you think his place is? Go to a brothel or a restaurant? Leaving after acting cool? Lin Chen sneered. He clenched his fist, and the 5-color dragon energy rotated. He stood proudly with his spear. Leave all your storage rings to me as an apology to the Yang residents. And that idiot over there who lost his teeth and bled. Yes, what are you looking at? It's you. Apologize to the Yang residents. You must say it loudly. Say it until I hear you. When this request came out, the expressions of Long Ao and the Long family's experts changed. Leave their storage rings? This was clearly daylight robbery. Roar. Dragon roars shook the sky, and 2 dragons thousands of feet long soared into the sky. Purple phoenix wings, green dragon body, and 4 wings spread out high. Rain dragon tail was like a blue sword, domineering and majestic. The yellow-robed old man's pupils shrank. There were actually 2 dragons above the 7th rank. The most terrifying one was the green dragon that had not broken through the 7th rank. It had purple phoenix wings and rain dragon wings on its back. It was extremely strange. He could actually faintly smell a trace of danger from it. Even the emperors who were sitting in the shadows at the edge of the hall were secretly shocked. They had been in the 9 regions for tens of thousands of years and had seen many strange things. However, this was the first time they had seen a beast with more than 2 kinds of bloodlines at the same time, and each of them was more terrifying than the other. I've always convinced people with virtue. Those who don't submit are basically dead. How about it? Do you want to try? The 4 clones spread out and surrounded the Long family's people. It looked like they were going to start a fight if they didn't agree. Damn it, how many trump cards does this kid have? The yellow-robed old man was flustered and exasperated. With the 2 green dragons, he didn't have the confidence to protect his young master. If things went wrong, even he, an early 7th rank combat emperor, would lose a few pieces of flesh here. No wonder this kid could actually turn the Divine Continent upside down. And a few days ago, the energy of the Earth's core exploded in the Dan region. There must have been a shocking change in the Divine Continent. Their Long family was not to be trifled with. How did they provoke this madman? Even if he had the backing of the Dragon Clan, they couldn't afford to offend him. Even a legendary God family and Hun family were turned upside down by him. Why would he be afraid of the Dragon Clan? We'll hand it over. The yellow-robed old man gritted his teeth and shouted. The Long family's combat emperors looked at each other. In the end, they were extremely unwilling to hand over their storage rings. There was no other way. If they didn't hand it over, their lives would be in danger. Who hadn't heard of Lin Chen's name? This old man who punched the true God Mountain and set off the energy of the Earth's core like fireworks. He even put the fireworks of the Earth's core into the legends of the 9 regions. Was there anything he didn't dare to do? If they didn't hand it over, the number of people who could walk out of here alive could be counted with one's fingers. Chapter 613. The yellow-robed elder was furious as he threw a bunch of storage rings at Lin Chun. Lin Chun looked at Long Ao, whose face was covered in blood. He was so angry that he was trembling. He personally bowed to the Yang family's upper echelons. Long Ao gritted his teeth and said, "So sorry." Bang! Lin Chun kicked violently, sending a strong gust of wind towards his anus. It was so painful that he cried out, "Did you not eat? F***CK. If you're not full, I'll send you to eat shit later." Louder. "If you don't show some sincerity, I'll break your legs with my next punch and drag you to Holy Pill City to apologize 100 times. Lin Chun lectured Long Ao like an old man. Countless people felt their scalps go numb. Savage. Savage to the extreme. The hundreds of Yang family members present felt like they were in a dream. Long Ao, who was still clamoring about marrying the Yang family's woman, was now beaten to the ground like a pug. In terms of arrogance, in terms of overbearingness, this Long Ao paled in comparison to this master Lin Chun. Long Ao covered his butt, his mouth trembling as he stood up and shouted, Long Ao, apologize to everyone in the Yang family and Miss Yang Qinger. I'm sorry." Finally, the yellow-robed elder helped Long Ao up. Lin Chun gave them a casual sentence. "If you dare to have any ideas about the Yang family, I'll go to your family or the Dragon Clan next time. I haven't played enough recently, so I'll go set off a few more Earthcore fireworks." The yellow-robed elder's body trembled slightly. When the last group of Long family members left, everyone was still in a daze, as if they were in a dream. Many of the Yang family's young geniuses were looking forward to it, and their blood was boiling. What was arrogance? What was a strong person? What was a quick revenge? All of these were vividly portrayed by Lin Chun. "Is there any more trouble?" Lin Chun asked the Yang family members with a smirk on his face. The Yang family head laughed out loud for the first time. No, there's really no more. "Thank you, Lin Chun, for your help. My Yang family can't thank you enough. My daughter owes you a favor." It's fine. If you have any trouble like this in the future, remember to call me. I love helping others solve their problems. It can't be helped. There aren't many good youths like me in the 9 provinces. The most important thing is that I'm so damn handsome." Lin Chun sighed with emotion as he fiddled with the storage rings in his hand. Everyone's mouths twitched. His words sounded so righteous. But why did it make people want to beat him up? Against a group of war emperors from the Long family. If it was under normal circumstances, Lin Chun would naturally not be afraid. However, this was the central region of the Yang residence. If there was a large-scale battle, Lin Chun could protect Yang Qinger, but not the entire Yang residence. Therefore, the best outcome was for them to leave after paying the price. When the Yang family head saw his precious daughter staring at Lin Chun, it was no longer limited to the feelings she had before. Instead, it was a face full of affection. He couldn't help but sigh. A grown girl can't be kept at home. "All right, Lin Chun, we've gathered all the experts you wanted. Moreover, there's a pleasant surprise." The Yang family head laughed heartily. Then, he cupped his fists towards the corners of the hall. "Everyone, Lin Chun is here. You can show yourselves now." Lin Chun turned his head. Since just now, his spiritual power had faintly detected a profound and powerful spatial barrier in the corner of the hall. Even part of his perception was blocked. Buzz! The spatial enchantment trembled and gradually disappeared, revealing many figures inside. Lin Chen's eyes lit up. Outside the 9 provinces, in the endless starry sky, there were 5 faint stars connected together. In the void between the stars, voices were echoing. The Saint Heart of the Hun family's old man has been broken. The believers he cultivated are stronger than any of us. It was still broken by that kid. What should we do? The boundary-suppressing sacred steel in the 9 provinces hasn't been completely cleared. There's also the firmament tower. If we completely invade it, it's completely unknown. However, if we don't take action now, I'm afraid it won't be long before this kid can threaten our energy Saint Heart. At that time, it won't be so easy to recover from the injury. Maybe the hundreds of thousands of years of painstaking effort will be in vain. Those guys from the demon tribe won't make a second move. Our saint bodies have only recovered less than 40%. Damn, the sacred prison. If we come to the 9 provinces in this state, we may not be able to withstand the bombardment of those boundary-suppressing sacred steels. Forget it. Absorb it. Let's all join forces and absorb all the energy stored in the Saint Heart. Recover as much as we can. But if we refine the Saint Heart now, it will take countless years to create an altar to extract energy from the Earth core. What else can we do? Wait for that kid to come and mess with our Saint Heart? Even the family of the Hun family's believers was infiltrated by him. How can our family be spared? Refine the Saint Heart. Recover as much as we can. Then, change the plan. We don't need to reach 80% of the Saint Heart before we descend. We don't need to sweep across the 9 provinces in one breath. We only need to descend on a big province first and refine the energy from the Earth core with our saint bodies. The efficiency will be doubled. Oh, you mean we should conquer it gradually? Start with a big province first? That's right. Since this kid's appearance has changed our plan, let's abandon the original plan and focus on attacking a big province first. Let's attack the spiritual state. This kid is also from the spiritual state. We'll attack the spiritual state. The spiritual state has the least number of boundary-suppressing sacred steels and can't stop all of us. Since that's the case, it's time to exterminate these ants. After refining the energy of the Saint Heart, we'll start with the spiritual state. I agree. Attack the spiritual state. In the hall of the Yang Mansion, Lin Shun sat at the head of the table. Looking around at the 39 masters present, he nodded from time to time with a satisfied expression. There were many masters. Among them, 30 of them were attracted by Lin Chen's summons. The message sent by the alchemy families of the Dan province was sent out by the Secret Intelligence Network. It wasn't a public announcement. Those who received the message were all people with a certain level of character, strength, and fame. They were considered top-notch masters among their peers. The weakest of the masters who were attracted by the summons was a mid-5th level combat emperor. The strongest 2 of them were far stronger than the 7th level combat emperor. The weakest of the 2 was an early 8th level combat emperor. They might even be stronger than that. Even Lin Chen couldn't see through them. It was terrifying. The most terrifying thing was that one of them was a saber emperor and the other was a sword emperor. Their combat strength was far beyond their peers. The other 9 people were a little special. The strongest among them was a late 4th level combat emperor, and the weakest was a late 3rd level combat emperor. However, they had a strong foundation. Moreover, they came to find Lin Chun of their own accord. Because these 9 people were all super geniuses who had obtained the inheritance of the boundary-suppressing sacred steels. They were the last hope of the Jiuzhou continent to fight against the fake god. Of course, they weren't the only ones who had obtained the inheritance of the boundary-suppressing sacred steels. It was just that the others weren't attracted to this place, didn't receive the news, or were in seclusion. These 9 people were also very strong. Chapter 614. Ha ha, Lin Chun. I'm afraid we missed a good show. I saw it very clearly just now. Those guys from the Long family also have a day when they are defeated. Ha! It's so F***king satisfying. At this time, 3 old figures appeared like ghosts. They stroked their beards and laughed, not caring about their image at all. They were the three alchemists who had hosted the peak elixir meeting. The young geniuses of the Yang Mansion looked at the three of them with shock and admiration. These three were the top alchemists in the elixir prefecture. At the same time, some of the young geniuses of the Yang Mansion looked at Lin Shan with amazement. Some of the young female geniuses even had feelings for him. To be able to make the three alchemists of the elixir prefecture welcome him personally, one could see how important this young man was. Greetings, seniors. Lin Chen smiled in a manner that was neither servile nor overbearing. The three of them waved their hands indifferently and found a place to sit down. When the three of them looked at the 9 youngest people in the hall, apart from Lin Chen, their eyes flashed with amazement and admiration. The inheritor of the boundary suppressing sacred steel was even rarer than the descendants of the fake gods. It's better to meet you in person than to hear about you. Sir Lin Chen, you live up to your reputation. I'm sincerely convinced after meeting you today. At this time, a gentleman in a white robe held a white jade fan in his hand and sincerely saluted Lin Chen. Ha ha ha, I like this young man. I enjoyed watching him trample on Long Ao's face just now. The young man with a red giant axe laughed heartily and gave Lin Chen a thumbs up. A young man with a saber in his arms had a grave and stern face. His expression was somewhat cold, but he said a few words as if they were gold. You are affectionate and righteous. It's really fortunate that the 9 prefectures have Prince Lin Chen. The 2 beautiful women stood up and bowed slightly to greet him. This scene attracted the attention of many super prodigies. What had this pair of proud and arrogant twin sisters ever revealed such a feminine side to a man? They had seen Lin Chen's methods and bearing. Only now did they truly know how big this young man's tolerance was. From breaking into the divine mountain, to breaking into the family of fake gods, and then to releasing the energy of the earth core of the fake gods. As the inheritors, everyone knew how difficult each of these things was. It was almost impossible for a single person to do it. The geniuses who could obtain the world-suppressing sacred steel were existences that were 1 in a trillion. How could they not see that Lin Chen's actions revealed some information? Facing his enemies, he was decisive and merciless. Towards his friends, he was magnanimous and sincere, taking the initiative to take care of the Long family's matters. Now that they had met, all of their doubts were dispelled, leaving only admiration from the bottom of their hearts. Everyone, you're too polite. I didn't think that you would take the initiative to help me this time. I can't thank you enough. I'm not someone who likes to owe people favors. As long as you put in the effort, your rewards will be the same as everyone else's. Lin Chen, will give you a chance to refine medicine for free. Lin Chen cupped his hands. Everyone looked at each other and smiled. A high-ranked Tier 7 alchemist, they naturally would not refuse. Kid, are you really a high-ranked Tier 7 alchemist? Suddenly, a hoarse voice questioned. Lin Chen looked over. It was the gray-clothed Sword Emperor with the most terrifying aura. What's wrong, Fong Ling? You don't trust us? Han Ming, one of the 3 alchemists, snorted in displeasure. Lin Chen didn't mind. He raised his hand, indicating that Han Ming didn't need to be angry. I'm the real deal. Other than high-ranked Tier 7 pills, there shouldn't be any pills below the high-ranked Tier 7 that can stump me. Lin Chen's light laughter was mixed with the vibration of his mental energy. The vibration of his mental energy caused ripples to appear in the air. All of the combat emperors were shocked. Mental energy of the heaven ascension realm. Moreover, among all the alchemists they had seen, there were no more than 5 people whose mental energy was comparable to this kid's. Some of the combat emperors were even seeing it for the first time. The 3 alchemists were also surprised. Lin Chen's mental energy was more condensed and robust than last time. It far surpassed the mental energy of an ordinary heaven ascension realm early stage. His growth speed was simply freakish. The geniuses who had obtained the inheritance from the Saint Monument were even more amazed. What a monster! He really was a monster in human form. How could there be such a monstrous figure in this world? A 21-year-old third-level combat emperor who was comparable to a fifth-level combat emperor. In addition, he also had the mental energy of a Heaven Ascension realm cultivator. Moreover, he was a high-ranked seventh-level alchemist they couldn't compare. They would be angered to death if they were to compare. These monstrous geniuses who had never truly submitted to any of their peers were now only submitting to Lin Chun alone. Yes, we have no more questions. The other gray-clothed saber emperor nodded slightly. His cold face squeezed out a stiff smile, as if he hadn't smiled for a long time. The upper echelons of the Yang family shook their heads and sighed in amazement. To be able to suppress so many powerhouses, and even those legendary super freaks who had obtained the legacy of the saints, this wasn't something that could be accomplished with just alchemy alone. Only when the strong met the strong, they would always respect each other. Without further ado, let's get straight to the point. Everyone knows our goal this time, which is to fight all the ancient families in the spirit state and quell the internal strife of the spirit state. In terms of battle, everyone must listen to my orders and not act rashly. If anyone violates this rule, I will cancel our cooperation. Lin Chen raised his finger, and everyone nodded seriously. Lin Chen's strength and foundation were enough for them to follow his lead, because our enemies might not be just the ancient families in the spirit state. Therefore, if there is a special situation that requires everyone to risk their lives, I will allow everyone to withdraw. However, the reward will be canceled. Of course, if anyone risks their lives for me, I am willing to double the reward. Once these words were spoken, everyone's expression changed again. Double the reward? Doesn't that mean they can refine elixirs twice for free? The temptation of this reward was strong enough. It was enough to make most of the powerful warriors risk their lives. Don't worry about my potion-making skills and foundation. I believe everyone has heard about my performance at the Peak Elixir Association and the Small Elixir Association. Not only can I refine elixirs, but my clones also have the same level of potion-making skills as me. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone present was first shocked, then puzzled, and finally revealed an unprecedentedly shocked expression. Even the two most powerful saber and sword emperors were the same. The higher-ups and elders of the Yang Mansion were also horrified. Yes, thinking back to his performance at the Small Elixir Association, he broke history by refining elixirs with 9 alchemy furnaces in one go. Lin Chen's clones had the same level of potion-making skills as him. If he had the skills of a level 7 alchemist, wouldn't it mean? The 3 alchemist giants' faces twitched for the first time. Didn't it mean that including his 4 clones and himself, there are 5 of them? 5 level 7 alchemists. F*CK. The 3 alchemist giants couldn't help but curse in their minds. 5 level 7 alchemists, except for the Dan province. No other province could come up with such a lineup. Didn't this mean that Lin Chen alone was comparable to all the top alchemist giants in the 9 provinces, except for the Dan province? Even more than that, F*CK. Not a human. This kid is definitely not a human. This wasn't something a human could do. Han Ming wanted to drink a cup of hot tea to calm himself down, but at this moment, the hand holding the teacup was trembling. For the first time in hundreds of thousands of years, the hand holding the teacup was trembling, and the tea spilled over his crotch. It was as if the waves in his heart had spread across the entire Sahara Desert. He was left with doubts about his life. Unable to drink the tea, he couldn't help but raise his hand to order the maid of the Yang family. Give me an orange. No, give Lin Chen one too. Chapter 615. The expressions of the 9 Saint Monument inheritors were extremely interesting. Even with their talents, it was extremely difficult for them to meet a high-rank 7 alchemy giant. They had never heard of a 7th-grade alchemist giant that could fight against 5 alchemist giants. This news of Lin Chen was no longer just at the level of being shocking. This was Mother*** King horrifying news. This was not a level that a human could reach. The powerhouses who had come for the summoning order were filled with shock and ecstasy. This also meant that Lin Shun did not lack manpower to refine medicine. The three alchemist giants took a long time to recover from their shock. They clutched their chests and smiled bitterly. At their age, they could not withstand this kind of shock. 5 seventh-grade alchemists, if given enough time, could expand their team by a few times. However, Lin Shun didn't have the time to wait any longer. This also made the combat emperors decide that this time they would have to put their lives on the line to carry out the order. To be able to invite 7th-grade alchemist giants to refine medicine twice, this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. It's time for us old fellows to retire. Han Ming sighed from the bottom of his heart. The other two elders also sighed deeply. As expected of the person who could turn the Han family upside down. He is indeed a legend. The beauty wearing a purple veil slowly spoke. She was also a Saint Monument inheritor. Then, the experts who came one by one stood up and cupped their fists to pay their respects. They reported their names. As for the two 8th-grade combat emperors, the Saber and Sword Emperors, the Sword Emperor was Fong Ling. The Saber Emperor was Jing Yu. Even the 3 alchemist giants introduced Lin Shun a few more words. These two were combat emperors who had been famous for a long time in the 9 continents. The two of them were originally opponents, but from the moment they met, they were evenly matched. They fought from the 1st-level combat emperor all the way to the 8th-level combat emperor. After fighting for almost 50,000 years, there was still no clear victor. During the battle, the two of them became friends and enemies. At the crucial moment, they would work together. When they worked together, they were invincible under the 9th-grade combat emperor. Even Lin Shun was surprised. This was too extreme. There was still no winner after 50,000 years of fighting. This was the result of several lifetimes of fate. There were only 2 reasons why they had come. The two of them were extremely disdainful of the actions of false deities. They had once offended the renowned false deity clans, the Long family and the Hun family. Therefore, when the news of Lin Shun smashing the Hun family's True God Mountain spread, they were shocked. On the other hand, they really did have some medicinal pills that they needed Lin Shun to refine. Their admiration and need led them to look for Lin Shun. Not all 7th-tier alchemists could invite a high-level combat emperor. There was a strict corresponding level. 7th-level pills were suitable for the 1st to 3rd level of the War Emperor realm. As the user's strength increased, the effect would gradually weaken or even become ineffective. The middle of the 7th step was suitable for the 4th to 5th level of the War Emperor. High 7th level, from the 6th to the 7th level. Above the 8th level combat emperor was the peak of the 7th level. It was estimated that there were no more than 5 alchemists of this level in the current 9 prefectures. To be able to get the help of the two of you, it seems that I am quite lucky, Lin Shun said with a smile. Fong Ling nodded with a cold expression. You are too polite. With your strength, it is only a matter of time before you reach our level. Moreover, we have a request from you. It is a cooperative relationship. All right, since the conditions are more or less settled, if there are no other questions, let us depart. His gaze was as sharp as a sword. Lin Shun's expression became extremely cold. 7 days later, in Tianzhou's Dragon Cry City. Behind Dragon Cry City was Lingyun Mountain. This was where the Heavenly Song Academy set up a branch. On this day, many students of the academy came and went in the branch. Chi, rumble. The power that swept across the sky shook the heavens. Many top combat emperors in Tianzhou suddenly opened their eyes. Their expressions were unprecedentedly solemn. A large number of strong warriors have arrived in Tianzhou. What is going on? On Lingyun Mountain, the academy's combat emperor elder suddenly woke up. His figure flashed out of the secret room and flew out of the outside world. The sky above the academy was covered by layers of dark clouds. A powerful spatial barrier covered the entire sky. A group of figures slowly appeared in the sky. The pupils of the academy's elder, who was stationed in Tianzhou, shrunk. Among the dozens of figures, The strength of each of them was far stronger than the elder who was stationed in the branch. I am Lu Yun Sheng, the elder of the Heavenly Song Academy. May I know the purpose of your visit? The elder who was walking in the sky, Lu Yun Sheng, cupped his fists and asked cautiously. The opponent's strength and formation were too terrifying. In addition, there were many students here. He had no chance to protect the students. The defensive formation that he had set up was useless in front of these people. A mere third-level combat emperor. You are not qualified to know the purpose of our visit. Get lost. The cloaked elder who was the leader flicked his sleeves and sneered. There was no fluctuation of battle chi, but Elder Lu Yunsheng was suddenly struck by lightning. With a bang, he flew hundreds of miles away. Countless students were dumbfounded. This was one of the elders who was in charge of the Tianzhou branch. How could he be so weak? Where did these people come from? Next, those whose names I call, step out immediately. Otherwise, all of you will die. The cloaked elder said coldly, as if he was judging everyone's fate. Yin Manqing, Lung Yueqi. Who are you? Step out. When these two names were called, the expressions of everyone in Class 66 changed, especially by Juanhao. He seemed to have realized something. I will give the order 3 times. If you don't speak, everyone will be killed. The cloaked elder's hoarse voice was like an announcement from hell, without a trace of emotion. The expressions of the students became extremely frightened. It's me. 2 crisp voices reverberated. 2 graceful figures stood in the sky. Each of them had their own merits. They were devastatingly beautiful, and their temperaments surpassed countless women in the mortal world. They were Lung Yueqi and Yin Manqing. If they didn't appear, the entire academy would be buried with them. There was no other choice. You can't go out. Bai Juanhao cried out in alarm, and the cloaked old man's sharp gaze swept over him. Puchi. Bai Juanhao flew backward and spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. His eyes kept rolling back. Half of his meridians and bones were broken. Oh, as expected of the girl that Brat took a fancy to. She does have some aptitude. The other elder in white sneered. The cloaked elder had a hint of killing intent. He reached out a palm from under the robe and grabbed at the 2 girls. Chi! Bang! The 2 girls' delicate bodies suddenly exploded with a muffled sound. Their expressions were filled with despair. Blood stained their clothes, and they fainted. Oomph! With these 2 girls, I can't let that brat continue to be a coward. The cloaked elder sneered. He flipped his palm and sucked the 2 girls over. Rip! Chi! Bang! The overwhelming battle chi swept across the sky and smashed the spatial enchantment in the outside world. A beautiful figure flashed out and saved the 2 girls. This made the cloaked elder furious. Dozens of figures flashed in the void at lightning speed. Their auras were so strong that they were not inferior to the cloaked old man's side. Who are you? How dare you invade Tianzhou? The blue-haired elder in the lead was filled with thunder. His voice was like thunder as he shouted coldly. Chapter 616. Tianzhou, don't ask for trouble. We are from the Han family of the Divine Land. 3 more figures appeared beside the cloaked elder. Their battle pressure was extremely strong, and they were at the peak of the 9 states. The Han family. It was them. With the Han family's background, it was easy to investigate Lin Chen's background. In a short period of time, they found out about Lin Chen's relationships and went straight for Lung Yueqi and Yin Manqing. It was obvious that they came prepared. The lightning-haired elder frowned and quickly scanned the situation of the Heavenly Song Academy. His lips curled into an overbearing smile. So what if you are from the Han family of the Divine Land? If you dare to offend the Tianzhou, we don't mind declaring war on the entire Divine Land, let alone the Han family. The cloaked elder was furious and shouted, Sir, are you asking for trouble? You are the ones asking for trouble. You want to fight? Do you really think the people of the Tianzhou are made of mud? 2 figures appeared beside the lightning-haired elder. The group of cultivators did not show any signs of fear. The Tianzhou was the most united state in the 9 states. Most of the ancient families had formed an alliance. Therefore, they would not easily give in to any foreign forces. Moreover, most of their powers owed the dean of the Heavenly Song Academy a favor. So how could they easily abandon his students and not care about them? The Han family of the Divine Land had never been threatened like this. The cloaked elder was about to move when another elder blocked his way. "Sir, we are here because of a personal grudge. How about this? You give the 2 girls to us, and we will naturally leave." Right now, it was not the time for the Hun family to waste time here. They could only pretend to be obedient. "No, if you want it, talk with your fists." Who knew that the lightning-haired elder would protect the people of the academy and the 2 girls? He would not give in at all. "You motherf asterisk cur." The higher-ups of the Hun family were furious. The elder blocked him again and exchanged glances. If the other party insisted on protecting the Heavenly Song Academy, it would not benefit the Hun family much if they fought now. Hee, what a Tianzhou alliance. Very overbearing. I hope you can continue to be this overbearing in the future. The cloaked elder laughed sinisterly and led the group to retreat. The cultivators of the Tianzhou did not chase after them. Thank you, seniors of the Tianzhou." Lu Yinsheng flew up with injuries and cupped his fists at everyone. "This is our responsibility, not to mention that we owe your powerful dean a favor. However, how did you provoke such a terrifying opponent?" The lightning-haired old man frowned. Lu Yinsheng smiled bitterly. How would he know? How are the injured students doing? Suddenly, a green-robed old man questioned. The beautiful woman in Cheongsam, holding the 2 girls, slowly shook her head. "It's terrible. His Dantian was directly crippled. His battled Qi Yuan palace had been shattered. 90% of his meridians had been severed, and his Yuan venerate cultivation base had been reduced to nothing. He's barely alive, but I'm afraid he won't be able to wake up anytime soon." The beautiful woman in the Cheongsam frowned. The other party did not harm their internal organs, so it was obvious that he had other uses for them. What was the situation with the Heavenly Song Academy? How did they provoke such a terrifying enemy? The only thing they could think of was perhaps that legendary orange medal rank student. The students in the sky were still in shock. A day later, the space above Ling Yun Mountain fluctuated, and another large group of terrifying auras descended. Elder Lu Yunsheng, who was recuperating in seclusion, suddenly opened his eyes. Could it be that the other party was coming back? The powerhouses of the Tianzhou Alliance also appeared in the sky above the Heavenly Song Academy. Both sides heard the young man's laughter at the same time. "Everyone, long time no see." When the familiar laughter rang out, the blue medal rank student, Lu Ying, and the other students who had interacted with him before were pleasantly surprised. The silver-robed young man appeared in the sky with a group of people. "Lin Chun." Many of the teachers and elders of the academy exclaimed. Lin Chun had a smile on his face. When he flew in front of the elders, he suddenly felt that the atmosphere was a little strange. His golden-eyed twin had been activated, but the murderous intent and misfortune in the vicinity had not completely dissipated. What happened? Lin Chun had a bad premonition. His expression instantly became serious as he asked the elders. They looked at each other with bitter smiles and led Lin Chun to a secret room specially prepared by the academy. Inside the 2 high-grade secret rooms, Lin Chun's expression was extremely gloomy. The atmosphere was strangely silent. Everyone could feel this young man's monstrous anger. Lin Chun released a strand of spiritual energy into the 2 girls lying on the green jade ice bed, as well as by Junhao beside them. After a moment, Lin Chun opened his eyes. His expression was deranged. What a vicious method! Destroy their cultivation, break their meridians, shatter their dantian, and destroy their Yuan mansion. In this life, Sister Yueqi and Manqing will never be able to cultivate. His eyes flashed with ferocious, murderous intent. Lin Chun roared like an angry beast. "Hun family, I will not rest until I die." Suddenly, 2 pairs of jade hands held his hand. 2 beauties, one on the left and one on the right, accompanied by Lin Shun. They were the Su sisters. Lin Shun, now is not the time to go crazy. You are the Academy's only hope. If you give up, we'll have no chance. The elder sister Su Lan said gently. The younger sister Su Lan held his hand tightly, not daring to let go. That's right, class monitor. Those people's strength is too terrifying. You are still no match for them. Yulin Lin said worriedly. They were still immersed in the terror of the Han family that day. Even elder Lu Yunsheng couldn't withstand a single blow from them. Lin Chun. Shangwan Bihan gritted her teeth. She knew that Lin Chun wasn't the kind of person who would swallow his anger and slowly cultivate. Everyone in class 66 was filled with anger, but there was nothing they could do. They weren't even battle emperors, so they didn't have the right to interfere in this situation. Lin Chun calmed his breathing and said seriously, I will. Leave the rest to me. This little guy is Lin Chun of the spiritual state. Why did he put out 3 alchemy furnaces? If he wants to make medicine, he only needs 1 alchemy furnace, right? No, don't underestimate this kid. This is the first time I have seen his spiritual energy. Compared to some of the old monsters in Danzhou and those old bastards in Tianzhou, he is even stronger. Many people from the Tianzhou Alliance stepped into the clouds and looked down at Lin Chun on the mountain peak below. Rumble. The spiritual energy of heaven and earth surged, and countless level 7 and level 6 herbs appeared. Lin Chun shook his shoulders, and 4 clones appeared in a flash. A spiritual energy vortex formed, and countless level 6 and level 7 herbs quickly entered the alchemy furnace. As the alchemy hand seals were used, they instantly melted into essence. This is the heaven and earth spirit acceptance technique? What kind of terrifying alchemy technique is this? His clones can actually use alchemy techniques at the same level as him? Seeing Lin Chun skillfully use the heaven and earth spirit acceptance technique, the powerful people of Tianzhou were all shocked. The main body used the heaven and earth spirit acceptance technique, and the clones refined the herbs step by step. Even the powerful people who followed Lin Chun's order were amazed. Their hearts were filled with shock. 5 level 7 alchemists supported each other and cooperated with each other. It was as if they were one. Chapter 617. His alchemy hand seals were formed smoothly, and he didn't fail even once. In just one day, the 3 alchemy furnaces were filled with dazzling rainbow lights. There were 5 rainbow lights from the 3 elixirs, and they were all mid-level level 7 elixirs. The mid-level level 7 elixirs were produced so easily that all the witnesses felt their scalps go numb. Refining mid-level level 7 elixirs was like playing with fire. How long has it been since this little guy entered? What level has he reached? Elder Yuan shook his head and sighed. The current Lin Chun was not at a level that he could see through. Thinking back, when Lin Chun entered the academy, he was still a kid in the Heaven Star Border realm. But now, the little guy who entered the academy for less than 2 years was already at the peak of the Jiuzhou continent. After the elixirs were produced, Lin Chun hurriedly fed them to the 3 injured people. Although they were mid-level level 7 elixirs, Lin Chun had slightly modified many of the details of the elixir recipe. In addition, the 3 elixirs were mild in nature, so they would only continue to evaporate in the 3 people's bodies. Even if they didn't take the initiative to refine them, they wouldn't be affected. Jun Hao could be considered to have been saved. I even added my Azure Dragon bloodline into the pill. I reckon that after this, his strength will be able to rise greatly once more. As for Sister Yueqi and Manxing, it will be harder for them to reach the Heaven Star Border realm in the future. Lin Chun gritted his teeth at this result. With his current level of alchemy, this was the best he could do. If he wanted to save the 2 girls, he would have to be a level 8 alchemist. This kind of alchemist might have been extinct in the entire Jiuzhou continent. Hun family, I didn't expect you to act so quickly. It seems that we have to fight to the death this time. Lin Shun suppressed the anger and murderous intent in his heart. At least, it wasn't the most desperate moment yet. As long as they were still alive, Lin Shun believed that with the system, he wouldn't be too far away from becoming a level 8 alchemist. Lin Shun turned around and cupped his fists at the Sky Province Alliance's experts, who were still in shock, before he spoke in a serious tone. Seniors, thank you for your help this time. I still have to return to the spiritual state, so I hope you can take care of the Heavenly Song Academy. As for the reward, I will repay you after I solve the problem in the spiritual state. The powerhouses of the Tianzhou Alliance were overjoyed and quickly promised Lin Shun. They had already witnessed Lin Chen's alchemy foundation with their own eyes. Just this alchemy foundation alone was enough for them to revere, to be on good terms with him. That would be great. Class President, are you going back to the spiritual state? Everyone from Class 66 rushed up and asked anxiously. That's right. I'm going to settle this score with those guys personally. Everyone looked at each other. They all wanted to return to the spiritual state with Lin Shun, but with their strength, they would only be a burden. Believe in the class leader. I also believe in Big Brother Lin Shun. After settling the two girls and by Juanhao down, Lin Shun hurriedly left. He soared into the air and waved to everyone in the academy. Everyone, I promise you that it won't be long before we all return to the spiritual state. The cold wind was as sharp as a knife. Lin Shun led all the powerhouses and rushed into the space channel that led to the spiritual state. 2 days later, it had been 1 year and 3 months since the civil war between the ancient families broke out in the spiritual state. In this year, the spiritual state was completely divided into two major forces. On one side was the alliance of all the ancient families in the spiritual state, which was a total of 23 ancient families. On the other side was the alliance of a Yin family and the Heavenly Song Academy. Most of the forces in the spiritual state joined the alliance of ancient families led by the Bai family. In this year's war, both sides won and lost, but neither side initiated a life-and-death battle. Only a small number of forces chose to join the Heavenly Song Academy and defend the spiritual state together. They didn't plan to turn their own sects into stepping stones for the ancient families. Both sides had a tacit understanding and didn't interfere with the situation at the border of the spiritual state during the war. The reason was simple. Neither side wanted to destroy the spiritual state. The Bai family and the others wanted to take over the spiritual state. They wanted to unify the spiritual state. The Heavenly Song Academy, which had always remained neutral, became the main force in this war. The reason why the Heavenly Song Academy couldn't take down the spiritual state was that countless powerful students and elders had returned from their travels in the 9 states. In addition, because of Lin Shun, the Heavenly Song Academy didn't have any internal conflicts and didn't allow the enemy to attack from the inside. Plus, the Yin family had predicted the war and prepared for it. In the war of the spiritual state, there was one thing that almost all the top powerhouses neglected. 90% of the lakes and oceans in the spiritual state had dried up. In the past 3 months, this matter didn't catch the attention of any Battle Emperor realm powerhouses. Everyone's attention was focused on the war. In the Sky Palace of the Heavenly Song Academy, the vice principal, who was wearing a white dress, looked a bit tired. Many powerhouses of the academy gathered in the palace. It had been half a month since the Hun family's earth core exploded in the spiritual state. In this month, the academy and the Bai family had triggered 3 more battles between Battle Emperor realm powerhouses. They had fought more than 100 small battles and were now resting. In this battle after the Blood Soul Mountains, we will start from. Before he could finish speaking, the gaze of the vice hospital director, who was sitting at the head of the table, suddenly turned especially fierce. "Who are you?" The vice principal shouted coldly. "Rip!" The sword energy slashed vertically, creating a crack in the space. A gray-clothed figure carrying a sword stepped out from the crack. Sword Emperor? All the powerhouses of the academy were shocked. This person was one of the top powerhouses in the spiritual state, not to mention that he was a sword emperor. I'm a friend, not an enemy. Sir, take the letter. The gray-clothed sword emperor was Fong Ling. He threw a letter to the vice principal. The vice principal caught it and opened it to read. In less than 2 breaths, the vice principal's expression was very interesting. She even had a fluctuation that had never been seen in tens of thousands of years. No wonder he was able to send the Earth core's energy to the spiritual state. How terrifying. He is so crazy as soon as he came back. He is betting the life and death of the entire spiritual state. The vice principal's hand trembled slightly. The letter in her hand was from Lin Chun. This letter wasn't for discussion. It was to inform everyone in the academy. Vice principal, this is... A man with fierce eyes and sharp eyebrows stepped out. He had a lightning spear on his back, and his whole body was releasing terrifying battle aura. Even Fong Ling couldn't help but show a trace of seriousness when he saw him. He, Director Xing, this is the one and only orange medal student I mentioned to you, Lin Chun. This is his letter. The vice principal smiled and handed the letter to Director Xing. All the powerhouses of the Yin family and the academy were shocked. Lin Chun, this name had become the only legendary existence in the spiritual state. That was Xing Zhan, Director Xing. He was a powerhouse who had just returned to support the academy, so he knew little about Lin Chun. However, he was second only to the principal and vice principal in the Heavenly Song Academy. When he took Lin Chun's letter and read it carefully, his expression changed drastically. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.